December 10th, though.
December 10th.
Ms. Daniels. Ms. Davis.
Present.
Ms. Green.
Present.
Mr. Jones.
Here.
Ms. Rolls.
Present.
There you go. Mr. Rodriguez.
Present.
Ms. Hill.
Present.
Thank you. We're going to move right into committee business. Our first bureau we will hear from tonight will be the Bureau of Police. They're looking at me confused like they thought fire was going first.
Your fire told us that.
Would you like to go first, fire?
No,
We can
no,
have fire
no,
go first?
No. You're so babied so much, no.
My agenda says police fire codes.
Thank you, Madam Vice President.
Thank you. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, I believe you should probably have a presentation for us. At the end of the presentation, we will go through any questions.
Sure.
Thank you.
I'm Commissioner Thomas Carter.
If you could use the microphone.
Commissioner Thomas Carter.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of City Council. My name is Captain Ata Akapo Martin, Captain of the Uniform Patrol Division, and I will be presenting you with the proposed budget for 2026. What's that? No promises. I'll just flick my hand if you want. Yeah, good. Looking at our organizational chart from 2025, we have no changes moving forward. All of our positions remain the same. We are led by Commissioner Thomas Carter, as well as our Deputy Chief, Kenneth Young. Our divisions are broken down into 4 with our Uniform Patrol Division. I am the captain of that division. Our Criminal Investigation Division is Captain Terry Whelan. Our Technical Services Division, which is Thomas McGarity, as well as our Community Service Division, which is led by Captain Russell Winder. Going into the employee diversity statistics, as you can see there, we are at a total of 157 officers within our bureau. The breakdown is 123 males and 34 females. In particularly going through the language diversity of our officers, we have 9 Spanish, 2 Farsi, 1 Cantonese, 1 Hindu, 1 Urdu, 1 Punjab, and 1 Ashi. It's to note that the department received notification that we were the first department in the state of Pennsylvania to hire a female Punjab individual in the law enforcement ranks. I thought that was surprising. Earlier this year, she was awarded a commendation through an organization in Philadelphia, but we were honored to know that we are the first to hire a female Punjab to do law enforcement work. So that's a great accomplishment, and we think that it shows that we're moving across lines, making ourselves diverse into where we're looking for people to join our ranks. Going into some of the vacancies that we're looking at, we were budgeted for 194 officers. We only at this point are at 157. Our total allocation there for vacancies is 37. Unfortunately, that number is going to increase to 38 as we receive notice this week of another officer that's going to be resigning from our ranks. So in 2026, we still have to overcome the hurdle of the amount of vacancies that we have in our ranks. And looking at that from the chart there, you can see that our biggest area is the patrol officers, but we also have vacancies in our sergeants, our lieutenants, our forensics investigator. We have vacancies in our detective bureau, our civilian staff, because we're looking to hire a parking enforcement officer. So that's one of the things that we're trying to overcome moving forward into 2026. Continuing on about the vacancies, over the past year, it's been pretty challenging for the Uniform Patrol Division as well as the other officers working in the Bureau. A lot of forced overtime that's been allocated so that we can cover the shortages. Officers that are working 7 days a week, as well as the CSAs that have been doing 6 days a week to cover community events in the neighborhoods on the weekends. Looking at the total numbers there, you could see where the vacancies are going to be, the greatest shortage. The one thing to point out, the caption at the bottom is in 2026, not including what you're looking at on the chart, we have 19 other individuals that can retire from our Bureau. So that's in addition to the officers that you see there on the chart. But because they reached max service time of 20 years, they're eligible to walk away. So that's an additional amount of vacancies that we may have to cover in 2026. One of the things that we're doing, and you might think about this, like, well, what are we doing about these vacancies? Moving forward, we're trying to explore different arrangements on how we're going to allocate the divisions. We're also talking with the city as well as the FOP so that we can align things in accordance to collective bargaining agreements. We started the process of talking about lateral transfers, which is one thing that I think is desperately needed within the Bureau. And then that situation is where we can bring in officers that are already certified in the state of Pennsylvania or other places, and those officers can be brought in with a shorter period of time and then placed on the streets. In contrast to that, when we get a new officer who goes to the academy for over 6 months and then another 3 months of in-house training, we basically go from hiring to on the streets, and it's almost a year process. So the more people that leave us, it's harder to replace them quickly. The lateral will help us greatly because it reduces that amount of time for us to replace individuals that leave us. On a positive note, we did make offers for 3 new individuals to go into the academy in January. Those offers were made by the commissioner, and hopefully those officers complete the training and they will join us in the ranks in the 2026. We talked about, on the slide prior, jump back for a second for me. The proposed vacancies there, 1 captain, 2 lieutenants, 3 sergeants, a corporal, 4 detectives, a forensics investigator, and again, I spoke about the 28 officers. We're looking to do promotions for those supervisory ranks, which is important. You have to have supervisors that are in charge and taking accountability for the officers on the street. We're looking to do those promotional testing in January of 2024 and 2025 of this coming up year. And so that'll be moving up ranks of individuals eligible to test according to civil service guidelines. We then are going to be testing another hiring class in February of 2026, where we have in hopes of bringing on at least 10 new officers into our ranks and putting them in the academy, hopefully offsetting some of the deficiencies that we have with the vacancies at 28 at this point. So there is optimism down the line, as well as our recruiting efforts, which continue throughout the year. So it's one of the things that we're continuing to work on when we see those numbers and we're wondering, hey, what are they doing about the vast amount of vacancies? Also in 26, we have the parking enforcement position, which we cannot, there were no bids internally for that position through other city employees. So we're still doing ongoing interviews for that position to fill. That's one of the things that we're working on in 2026. And then the optimism of 10 new officers going into the police academy in January of 2026 based upon our hiring process. So those are some of the things that we're looking at moving forward on how we're going to work with that. There was a question asked about internal candidates bidding for police officer positions, but according to MOPEC and state statute, you have to go through the certification. So if we do have someone that applies not internally as a city employee, they would have to go through the same process as everybody else. So there is no option of internal officers coming into the station or into the bureau. I'd like to say that over the last couple of hiring cycles, we were able to bring in a lot of city residents. We have a couple of officers that are on board that are city residents. Certainly, recruiting isn't just our job, it's everybody's job. So if it's individuals that we can help spread the word on filling our vacancies, if you all knew someone that was eligible and qualified to meet the standards, we'd be more than happy to get them into the program. Our next testing phase is February of 2026. To date, we have 62 applicants that are signed up to take that test in February. We hope that we get a good number of those officers or individuals passing that process and then moving on to the next phase. And again, I already talked about the lateral transition that we're hoping to get in place once we have that agreement established for officers to move over to the Harrisburg Bureau of Police from other police departments. Kind of like what a lot of people do with our officers when they leave us and go elsewhere. Just to put this out there, it's not as if we are not getting people to apply. So far in the past 2 years, we've had 566 potential applicants. Getting people to the test is not so much of the problem as it is them successfully going through the process. So one of the things we looked at, and I just wanted to put this out there for you, is over that time period since 2023, we had 566 people apply. We had only 16 offers made out of that 566. And to date today, we only have 11 people still working with us today. Now, a couple of people did not make it through the academy training. One we trained and left to go to another department, and then others did not complete or achieve the required psychological classifications needed to be a police officer. So getting people to the test, we've adopted some different ways to kind of help people improve their status along the way, providing tests. We did practice tests on the PT and physical part of it, so that people are aware what to look for. We've also adapted help and study sessions for people to take those written tests. So as a department and as a bureau, we've been looking at ways to try to keep people engaged in that process, because it's not an easy process for people to do. So we also want to make sure that we give them the best tools to move forward if they're really interested in joining our ranks. Moving on to some of the numbers. We talked about the clothing allowance and the college credits. Both of these categories were a decrease for us moving from 2025 to 2026. As you can see, due to the decline in staffing levels allowed us to decrease the number that is listed in the budget for 2026. I'm not going to talk about any salary statuses at this point because the union is in contract negotiations with the city. They have an expiring contract that ends at the end of this month, 2025, December 2025. They're still in negotiations on that part. We suspected that that would go into the new year. So as a carryover, our numbers are just going to be flat from 2025 as a carryover because we don't know what those changes will be moving forward. Our communication line, nothing has changed from 2025 to 2026. Our advertising, printing services, and postages all remain the same. Our medical and psychological exam category, our K-9 medical insurance was increased by $500 based upon increasing annual costs for the K-9 insurance. So that line item in 2025 was $44,275. There was an increase of $500, moving that up to $44,775. Our police services, tuition and training, we had to add a line item for our co-responders for training. That's to support that program, working alongside with our officers. We want them to attend training and continual education so that they can stay current with the new trends in that program. It's one of the successful programs that we've had, initiation with the co-responder working alongside with the officer. So we needed to continue their training so that they could benefit as well. We decreased our American Heart Association CPR category. That went from $6,000 in 2025 to $1 left in as a placeholder. What we ended up doing this year was we partnered up with the American Heart Association versus the Red Cross. They ended up training our officers to become instructors in CPR and first aid training. The turnabout for that was we now will help them in training classes within the community. So they gave us the training and knowledge to become certified trainers, and now we go out and help them training classes for citizens in the community. They didn't charge us for anything for that, and that's why we left a placeholder in the budget for $1 based upon that agreement moving forward in the future. Overall, this line item budget went from $189,335 in 2025 to a decrease to $187,836. So that overall, that was a decrease of $1,500. Our contracted services category, which was we pay half salaries for the co-responders, that line item in 2025 was $135,000, and there was an increase in that to $140,400. That's proposed due to the annual increase for them. The approved amount in 2025 for this category was $180,000. Proposed amount is in 2026 is $185,400. So that's an overall increase of $5,400. In our conference category, we removed $5,000 for K-9 conferences. They no longer attend that conference, so we were able to remove that, decreasing that category by $5,000. In our membership category, the Dauphin County Chiefs of Police Association increased from $60 to $150 in 2026. And then our Grant Professional Association membership was added of $235 and proposed in the 2026 budget. We removed the Narcotics Association and East Coast Gang Investigator Association as we saw no additional value in maintaining that membership. So that was a reduction of $200 in savings. So overall, that line item went from $4,325 in 2025 to $4,450 in 2026, a mild increase of $125. Our contracted services with the Humane Society went up $4,000. So in 2025, it was $100,000 even. It went up to $104,000 in 2026, and that's due to contractual increases with the Humane Society. We removed $1,200 for co-responder monthly parking on City Island. We came up with a different way to work with that. So we removed the $1,200 in that category. Overall, the category of miscellaneous contracted services, as you can see, went from $228,150. The proposed amount went to $230,950, which was an increase of $2,800. We had no change in our prison care, which maintains at a $1,400 passover. Moving on to the utilities. We started a project where we were replacing the water drinking fountains in the building. That cost we initiated was $11,000. We went a different route with that for an annual subscription cost to going with replacing the actual units. That was able to provide us the ability to reduce that category down to $5,500 because all we need to do now is maintain the maintenance and the filter of the water fountain system. So there was a reduction in that category as well. The increase in additions when it comes to our maintenance and repairs. And this is one of the categories that I think I'm gonna take a little time on because this is where you'll see most of the increase on and going over that. So in our vehicle equipment category, we decreased the K-9 truck upgrades from $5,000 to $3,000 in 2026. We had an increase in costs for KNC radio repair. Our warranty is out for some of those things, and we went from $3,000 to $4,500 in 2026. Again, and those are necessary increases for us to do upgrades to the radio systems because technology continues to improve. We last purchased those radios back, I want to say 6 years ago, so it's about time for us to have upgrades with those systems. Our motorcycle service and inspection line went up from $3,000 to $8,000. This is due to our manufacturer warranty expiring on those vehicles. The fortunate part about the motorcycles is that we field those 6 complement of motorcycles out on the street now regularly, and VMC is not equipped to work on those motorcycles, so we can't put them under the fleet maintenance costs. They have to go out to a certified Harley-Davidson dealer to be worked on. So we have to incorporate the cost for sending those out to be fixed, as well as the diagnostic cost of $2,500, which again, once there's a problem with one of the motorcycles, VMC is not equipped to deal with that. They don't have the equipment, so we have to incorporate a cost for diagnosing problems to those vehicles. We removed the arson investigator truck and bed cap drawer system of $7,500. This vehicle was purchased and funded with the help of VMC in 2025. We used funds for that in 2025, so we no longer needed that line item in 2026. Overall, the vehicle equipment line item was proposed $26,100 in 2025. The new proposal in 2026 is $28,600, an increase of $2,500. We had maintenance service costs increase, and those are some of the things that we utilize every day. The increase for the United Public Safety maintenance and letter printing services, that went up from $20,016 to $22,677 in 2026. Our Crime Watch and annual maintenance service contract went up from $9,000 to $10,932. Again, annual contract increases, as well as our increase in CODI, our RMS system, as well as our NIBRS submission software. That went up from $8,602 in 2025 to $8,964 in 2026. We reallocated money in the amount of $2,500, which is what we would contribute to the Neighborhood Dispute Settlement Program. That's the police department's contribution to that program. It is solely funded on contributions made to keep that going. We utilize that service as well. Getting into the bigger parts of this category, our Axon tasers. We last purchased those 5 years ago. That contract has gone up from $48,000 in 2025 to $73,699 in 2026. We are at the end of the 5-year purchase of the TASER 7s. The new purchasing item is the TASER 10s. That's where we see the increased cost. We went into a 5-year agreement for the TASER 10s. The TASER 10s come with a virtual training program as well as VR goggles to help offset some of the training that goes along with that. And that cost increase, of course, adds in that new technology that we'll be utilizing with the TASER 10s. So that's one of the things that increased. We are going to be entering into the first year of a 5-year contract agreement with TASER, and that's where you see the increased cost with that. On the flip side, we decreased the Cody Pathfinder transition fee from $29,000 to $1. We left that in as a placeholder because the transition is not complete. However, we do know that it will be something that will be re-engaged in most likely 2027. We were told that we would not complete that project in 2026, so we know we're not going to utilize those funds, so we want to keep a placeholder in there for 2027. We added a placeholder in that line item for Plate Logic, LPRs, and Overwatch cameras. This initial purchase was $515,000. What we ended up doing was paying for this out of a grant. This grant covered the installation, the equipment, the operation, the maintenance for these cameras for 5 years. So the placeholder is being put into the contract so that in the year 2031, when this does come back up, we can make sure that we have knowledge that we're going to have to come up with costs for that. And at that point, we can decide what we're doing with those cameras moving forward, whether we renegotiate or we go with a different company. But those LPR cameras are paid for the next 5 years. We added $435,000 for the LVT mobile camera towers. We purchased 4 of those cameras. We have them around the city. Those cameras have seemed to work their weight in our purchases. They've been a big part of our technology movement for reduction of crime analysis, as well as helping reduce crime in certain hotspot areas of the city. We made the initial purchase through the LLES grant in 2025. However, the Bureau will have to incur the costs of maintenance and software in 2026. So that's where the 130 comes in for that. We increased the line item for the Cellbrite annual maintenance, which is $38,200. That increased to $57,316. We also had that under a grant. It's no longer covered under a grant, so we have to incorporate those costs in 2026. So overall, in summary, since this is one of the bigger ones that you see a large increase in category, in 2025, this line item was $278,159.30. In 2026, that line item increase is going to be $432,689.30. And again, the biggest reasons for that is the Axon, the mobile camera towers, the Cellbrite that we now have to take over, and some of the annual contract increases. So that's where you're going to see that big increase. Overall, that's $154,500 roughly from 2025 to 2026. I know you said questions at the end, but I'll pause here because that's might be an area where we might have a question. If not, I'll keep it moving.
If anyone has any questions, feel free to just state them.
All right, keeping it moving. There's a picture there on the slide of the camera towers. You see they're in the neighborhood. Hopefully, you've had an opportunity to view those. Again, as I point out, they've worked well for our usages. We've been able to put together a lot of investigations based on some of the footage that we recovered from those cameras in the neighborhood, and we've gotten a lot of feedback when we put them up in the neighborhoods. We just recently implemented those in the areas of 5th and Woodbine Street, 18th and Regina Street. We have one in the 2nd Street corridor, and we have one on City Island. So when we put them in the neighborhoods, just recently with the one at 5th and Woodbine, a lot of residents came out of their house and they were thankful for those cameras going up in those areas. So that's something to be noted. Talking about our supplies and our software, we decreased the Cody RMS licensing purchasing from $15,000 2025 to $7,000 in 2026. We added a line item for our Drone Sense software, which is $3,500. And basically what the software does, we have 2 drones that we are outfitting through the Bureau. The software will allow us to share what the drone operator sees, and it can be shared with a command post or other individuals. It's one of the things that I think moving forward will benefit us while we utilize the drones. So that line item budget in 2025 went from $19,626 to proposed amount of $15,125. That was an overall decrease of $4,500. We removed the IA Pro annual maintenance plan of $3,300 because we no longer use that software. We increased the leads of online from $4,995 in 2025 to $5,500 2026. We had an increase in our 1033 annual program from $700 to $800 in 2026. And then our digital signage board annual subscription went up from $181 to $400 in 2026. Overall, that line item category was at $33,557 in 2025, and the reduction of that line item down to $31,081, a decrease of $2,500. Personal safety category, we added $3,500 for spare drone batteries. Our drones, when we put them up in the air, they usually have a runtime of about 20 minutes. Without the spare batteries, we'd have to bring them down, halt operations, and then kind of wait for those batteries to recharge. With the spare batteries, we can bring the drone down, change out batteries, and put the drone back up so we can continue on with what we're doing. So $3,500 would be for those batteries to be purchased, and that would greatly help out when we utilize the drones. If you notice, we utilize the drones at the latest events, our Capona event, our holiday parade. It provides us with the opportunity to have a bird's eye view of what we're doing and what we're seeing as an overview. So it's been a great benefit for the Bureau. We also added $2,000 in that category for canine training aids. We just added a new canine to our Bureau. That canine is now out being trained with its new handler, so we needed to add funds in there for the canine training. We added $1,500 to start to replace our Bureau ballistic shields. Those shields only last for a certain period of time, and then over the lifetime, we need to start replacing them. $1,500 added to that category will help us replace those shields over the next coming years. We look to do that by replacing one shield as we go on in the next couple of years. That line item in that budget in 2025 was $115,590. The amount being proposed is $122,590. It's a $7,000 increase. Our wearing and apparel went up $2,000. We have new members that will be joining the Honor Guard unit, and those Honor Guard uniforms are custom made. So accounting for that increase of the new members, that line item went up from $124,000 to $126,000 in 26. Our fleet manager, the computer tablets that we got for the car computers that we have to replace when we get new vehicles, that's going up from $16,000 to $23,000. Increasing that technology because once we get new vehicles, we put in the new technology that covers the vehicle costs as we move forward. We added $2,500 for motorcycle supplies in 2025. One of the things to note, we now field those motorcycles even more. The motorcycles become a great outreach within the community. A lot of people don't know that we field motorcycles. As a member of that unit, every time I would ride, people would be surprised that we had those motorcycles, and they would engage in dialogue over those motorcycles. So we look at it as a community engagement tool. When the officers are on that, it provides them a closer ability to meet and talk with people. And again, whether it's curiosity about the motorcycles or just being able to engage people in the community, it's a better fit than what we've been doing with officers inside the vehicles. We've had no change in the office, our medical labs, or our traffic control devices. So overall, that category, we saw an increase of $9,500. Our minor capital outlay, looking at this category, we removed $15,000 for a transition for the internal affairs unit from the public safety building to the MLK building. We're no longer going that route, and we added $21,000 to replace Bureau batteries, the radio batteries that the officers carry on them. Again, I talked about that last purchase of those batteries, and the equipment was probably about 5 years ago. They are due to be replaced as we go through. Overall, that category was an increase of $6,100. The capital expenditure, which is the line item where we removed $80,000 from the top line item, that was to remodel the old booking room, as well as we removed $100,000 from our line item, which was to do repairs downstairs, as well as the first floor in our old street crimes office. Excuse me, totally it was $95,000 that we removed from that category, and we moved it into the facilities budget, since they will be responsible for doing those repairs and remodeling throughout the building. Along with that, when you're looking at the capital vehicle and equipment line item there was an increase there from $306,000 to $331,000, and I'll kind of go into that in detail on the next slide. So the breakdown of the vehicle that we are looking to purchase with our annual cost there, we're looking to purchase 3 vehicles at $72,000 each, replace a K-9 vehicle at $75,000 each. That's a total of $291,000. Vice vehicle replacement and street crimes vehicle replacement are the additions in why this line item goes up. The county at one point was providing the vice unit with vehicles. They no longer are able to do that due to their own financial constraints, so we will have to incur the cost in order to replace those vehicles. We're looking to do that over a period of time by replacing 1 vehicle a year until we have safe equipment for those officers to utilize. Same thing with the street crimes. We used to get that through other means. We're putting money aside so that we can replace those vehicles. They're not police vehicles. Usually they are used vehicles, normally used. We outfit them with lights as undercover vehicles, but those are things that we would have to purchase on the side. So there's where you can see the increased cost. I know it was something that was brought up in one of the questionnaires that you guys had put out, so we just addressed that. Along with the vehicle costs on the vehicles, we talked about how the purchasing of new vehicles as we move forward. We've recently gone to hybrid vehicles technology. We think that there's a little bit of increased cost in the onset, but over the long haul, we'll see a difference in overall city costs when we're talking about the efficiency of the vehicles as well as the gas and upkeep costs for the vehicles. Hopefully they will last longer in city environments because we don't have long highways that we operate on, and the hybrid vehicles should be fitting for what we do on a normal basis. Pause in there. Any questions on those items when it comes to dollars and cents?
Yes, Captain. What is the K-9 in training's name?
The new K-9 officer is Officer Snyder, and the K-9's name is Bailey. Moving on to the grants updates. So a lot of questions that you had submitted forward in reference to what our grants are. And again, we did submit responses to the questions that we asked. I'm just going to go through these briefly. Our violence intervention prevention, our VIP grant, which originally was $500,000 awarded to us. That was originally awarded in 2022. That was extended through June of 2026. It covers our project manager's salaries, our support and outreach and coordination, our credible messenger training, as well as our gang scope software and our GVI consultant fee. So far, these are all been reimbursement grants that we've received. The city has received back $388,000 from reimbursements through that grant through PCCD. Our Dauphin County Violence Intervention and Prevention Grant, that originally was funded from April of 2024 to March of 2027. However, it was not fully approved until November of 2024. The product modification has been submitted. We are hoping that we get an extension for that grant until March of 2028. This is a pass-through grant. We are the recipients of it through PCCD. These are ARPA funds that are being utilized, but we are not the direct recipient of the ARPA funds. Overall, this was $476,000 that was awarded to us through this grant. It covers police overtime for enforcement and community engagement. It works on stipends for the credible messengers, an additional credible messenger training, as well as it offsets our gang scope software and our GVI consultation fees. Our LLES grant, our law enforcement support grant. Originally, this grant was $1,218,519. That was awarded back in 2023, 2024. We have since gotten extension for that through June of 2026. It covers retention bonuses for the officers, our evidence custodial salary, as well as technology for our wellness committee, our wellness initiatives that we're doing with the city. It also was the money that we used to allocate and purchase those 4 mobile towers. So far, the city has been reimbursed $725,500 has been reimbursed out of that grant. The Gun Violence Investigation and Prosecution Grant, this was initially awarded a $1,262,501 grant. This is where we got the money to get the LPR cameras and our Overwatch cameras, which we have installed throughout the city. We also utilize funds there for the Cellbrite, which is supporting our computer program and our training. It was used to initiate the saturation details as well as the porch light and doorbell campaign and initiative through the CSAs. Funding for this was also ARPA funds. Again, we are not a direct recipient. We receive those funds through PCCD. So I know that was a question that was asked about what we have with ARPA funds, and there's your answer to that. The last one is our JAG grant, our Edward Burns Memorial Justice Assistance Grant. Dauphin County received this grant, but again, Harrisburg is not a direct recipient. We receive funds through the county. It covers partial salary through our victim witness contributions, as well as our NIBRS Crime Watch and Power Time and Planet annual fees. We went back into 2023 grant year, and we were able to recover funds through a product modification where we're able to then purchase a new polygraph machine for unspent funds in the year of 2023. So we're always looking to utilize those funds as we move forward and utilize all of the funds for our needs in the Bureau.
Captain,
Yes.
with the GVIP, it's on here, but you just didn't mention it. The reimbursement that the city has gotten for $531,000.
That is correct.
All right, just wanted to put that on there.
Yep, thank you. You kept me to a half an hour. I'm trying to roll. Some of the operational highlights. Again, the grants we talked about, we were able to perform 2 officer wellness trainings held for our committee members and our officers. We were also able to hold those for other area officers in the surrounding areas. Our 4 mobile camera towers, which we installed in the city, which I've already talked about. With our GVIP, we've conducted 43 saturation details to date. We've installed 133 Ring doorbell cameras, and we installed 276 light fixtures as of November 25th of 2025. We still have 124 light fixtures remaining. We have appointments set up, and we'll continue on with that process till we're through. The anticipated completion of that process hopefully will be in the first quarter of 2026, where we've spent all the money in reference to that. Our mountain bike unit, we have 10 fully equipped police mountain bikes purchased and or donated. That started in 2024 through 2025 through In Gear Cycling. Again, the mountain bike and the officers that are on that provide an increased visibility in the community. It allows the citizens to be able to get closer to the officers as they roll through the community. It's one of those things that makes them accessible. It provides a greater outreach for officers within the community. And it's been an addition that we've learned is beneficial during parades, festivals, engagements in the community. It's one of the things that moving forward is where we're trying to get those officers out there a lot. Our warrant service unit is one of the things that we also added, and it was the ability to get officers together, train them together. Warrant services is one of the things that we do on a regular basis. We've realized that over time, it was more beneficial to get officers trained and on the same page with the proper equipment so that we can effectively serve those warrants, not only for the officers involved, but also the people that we're going after, to minimize the risk of any issues during those occasions, because we've seen how all over the nation, there have been incidents where maybe people who are not on the same page working together. We've implemented that where the warrant unit works together, trains together, and utilizes the proper equipment for safety, not only for us, as well as the individual. The GVI team, and again, Captain Weiner's here, he can talk about this more if you have any questions, but they initiated the custom notifications, increased from 2 to 3 times per week. Postcards were developed with key resources and contact information. Violence prevention curriculum was developed for the schools and prison populations. They developed the all hands-in panel discussion with leadership and service providers and the community stakeholders. And then the addition of the credible messengers was also added to this. The CSA program, they've increased their community engagement through community barbecues, and then assisting with multiple local organizations and neighborhood community events, as well as city-sponsored events. Our technology that we're proud moving forward with is our license plate readers and our Overwatch cameras, as well as our drones. Those are actual pictures of the equipment that we're using, as well as our live technology cameras. One of the things that we're proud to implement with those cameras is the effectiveness and how quickly you get your bang for our buck. Recently, the I guess conversation was, what are we utilizing those license plate readers and Overwatch cameras, and are we extending our reach in how we utilize those? Certainly, what we're utilizing them for is the adaptation of criminal investigation techniques and tools that we use to solve crimes. Just this past week alone, those cameras came in handy where we responded to an incident where there was a shooting at a local market. The cameras that were in that area were able to capture a suspect individual going into the market and suspected of shooting. The LPR cameras were able to find the license plate on the vehicle. Officers were able to quickly ascertain the information for that vehicle, get into the area where we suspected the vehicle would go back to. While the officers were in that area, they located the vehicle. They were able to talk to the occupant of the vehicle. They were able to get information on where the suspect had gone after the shooting. And then they were able to surround that house and get that individual to surrender. That went on in a matter of 2 hours. If we did not have that technology and the individuals, how that worked out, that could have taken us a lot longer. So as you can see, the effectiveness as we move forward with technology is crucial in how we do our job moving forward. Talking about those goals for 2025, I swear it's almost over. We talked about how we are looking to protect the city of Harrisburg. We serve as the city of Harrisburg, and we also maximize the Bureau workforce potential, modernize Bureau operations. Again, we responded to a lot of the questions in writing. You guys have that, but this is the one category that I'll go over in reference to our goals and what we've been doing. We look at the metrics on how we obtain success on these goals by looking at how we're doing in these specific categories. The Bureau will maintain a homicide clearance rate above the national average, and that's something that we strive to do. We also strive to reduce gun violence through partnerships and community engagements, and we adopt nationally recognized crime reduction strategies. Success will be measured through clearance rates and the reduction of shootings. According to the recent national data, the U.S. clearance rate for homicides is at 52%. Between 52 and 58% is the clearance rate. Harrisburg City's homicide rate has been down as compared to this time last year. Unfortunately, 11 homicides still is way too many, but that is less than what we had in 2024. Our clearance rate for homicides with the work by the officers in the Criminal Investigation Division, their clearance rate is at 83%, well above the national average. And that, again, contributes to the dedication of those officers that work in that division, attempting to provide justice and some sort of closure for victims, especially in those homicide situations. The Bureau will look to increase our transparency through enhanced reporting and public information, strengthening our community outreach, and ensure all policies and trainings align with fairness, transparency, and impartiality. The benchmarks for that will be looked at how well we are out in the community, how well our participation is, our digital engagement, as well as our policy review benchmarks. Annually, we are looked at through our accreditation standards, and we are reviewed by our policies and how they compare with other police departments across the nation. So we look at that as a benchmark to make sure that we are hitting the mark when it comes to our policies and as moving forward. Sadly, as I've already talked about, the one area which I think we have failed and unfortunately failed miserably is our recruitment and retention. Goes into our bureau. We would look to invest more into our retention standards, our competitive recruitment, work on our salaries, our operational efficiency. One of the key measures here to include is our retention and our hiring rates, our employee satisfaction, and our staffing assessments. In 2025, based upon our numbers of the vacancies, we haven't met this mark, and I think that's pretty clear. The 38 vacancies that we're going to go into 2026 with shows that we still have room to grow and how to retain officers. And of course, we hope that negotiations between the union and the city are effective so that we are able to retain more officers moving forward. The modernization of operations of the Bureau will fully transform away from our Metro system, which I think IT will come up here and solely jump on board for that. We want to get rid of the Metro system and upgrade our technology, such as our body-worn cameras, our network infrastructure, and modernize our record-keeping and digital conversion and implementation of our Pathfinder record-keeping system. The milestones that we look at there, we'll be gauging where we stand at a 1, a 3, and a 5-year basis. We've adopted the use of drones and license plate readers and mobile surveillance towers where they will help us in the modernization of the technology moving forward. So overall, with all the talking that I did, in the end, our police budget, which was proposed in 2025, was in the amount of $20,479,054.00. Our increase to the budget proposed in 2026 is $20,731,759.00. So that's only an increase of $252,000 roughly, or 1.2% of our budget from 2025. That's a modest increase. At this point, I will answer any questions that you may have at this time about the budget or anything that I addressed at this point.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'm going to start to my far left with our Public Safety Chair, Councilman Jones. Any questions or comments?
Thank you, Vice President Green, Captain, Commissioner. Thorough presentation, and the main thing, I think you covered a lot of the questions that were asked. My colleagues may have additional ones due to the verbal presentation you gave along with it. My only thing is, I think you guys did a wonderful job at reducing costs where you could to save the city money, considering, and for the public, so they understand that when it comes to our budgets, mainly police and fire actually take up half of that budget. So for you guys to reduce it to this amount, and I know some of it is also due to the CBA that isn't complete. And my only question for you is, do we expect any large increases, because once you guys get into your negotiations, I know you can't speak about it, but do you project anything higher than what we're seeing here as far as increases in spending?
The one thing about the personnel category is we are underfunded in that category for what we're budgeted and what we may see moving forward. We do hope to increase those numbers by the officers that we look to hire in the beginning of 2026, but I can't speak on what the negotiation process and what's being offered from the city and the FOP. We hope it maintains competitiveness because it is one of the areas that we've heard we've had difficulty with, so that's one of the things we're optimistic on, that we'll have a solution to that hopefully in the early on 2026.
All right, that's good, because again, I know we may have some different numbers. Again, you guys had a slight increase in this, and I guess that's due to the vehicles or whatnot that you look to purchase. My only other question is, as I was looking through some of the training and some of the costs, so this is just a question for myself, is how do you guys handle health and wellness? Is there a program or is there training for that? I knew I see a wellness committee, but does that entail some things to make sure, as far as the morale of the police officers, is up to par?
Yes, actually, what we had done was we ended up investing in what is called a peer-to-peer program. We have officers who went through the program, and they are actually peer-to-peer counselors. When we have major incidents where it may be something that we need to gauge the wellness of our officers going through those situations, we just recently had one last week, where those officers are trained to speak with those individuals that went on those calls and gauge whether or not they're in the right mind frame moving forward. Along with that peer-to-peer program, we also have our chaplain program, which works well with the officers. They ride along with those officers and kind of talk to them on a personal basis, looking at how they're doing on a day-to-day basis. So as we move forward, we've invested in wellness programs in regards to our health and fitness and preaching wellness for the officers to kind of do something else other than policing when on their off time. We've invested in programs for them to understand financial situations, to help them work through financial situations on their own, and again, deal with problems outside of policing. A lot of times, the problems aren't so much within the walls here, but maybe problems at home, because we have family support systems that also need our help as
That's the
well. So
question.
yes, we've invested in that through those programs, and we have officers and outside agencies that work alongside them.
Good. Last but not least, with the cameras, the mobile cameras that you guys have using, I heard you mention one at City Island. Is there an increase in incidents over there? I'm just wondering why it's at City Island.
So in 24, 25, we had a lot of incidents where our vehicles were being broken into on the island.
Police vehicles?
Police vehicles, our personal vehicles, city-owned vehicles. We had a lot of issues with the car rallies that would go on the island, where we would get a lot of complaints. The souped-up tuner cars would go out there, and they do donuts and destroy property out there. I confidently can say that since we implemented those cameras, and those cameras were the first ones we put, we have not had any incidents on that island at all. It also provides a safety element for the people who go to the island, whether it's for the Senator games or for events that are being held out there, the City Islanders, and they're walking back to their vehicle. It's not secluded. Most times the area is well lit, but those cameras offer an added level of protection for people that are going to their vehicles. But since we put those cameras out there, we have not had one car show incident out there, and we have not had one of our vehicles broken into since then.
All right, yeah, that's good. It's just only reason why I asked it because that was something I wasn't aware of. And we're talking about putting these cameras in hot spots, and I didn't know City Island was a hot spot, especially for breaking into vehicles. I think that's throughout the city, but that's good to know and good for the residents to hear that as well. I have no further questions. Gonna get back to Vice President Green.
Thank you very much, Councilman Jones. Councilman Rodriguez, any questions or comments?
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Commissioner Captain, it's great to see you and the team as always. When we talk about digital conversion, would that include the footage from the digital drones as well as the body cams? Like actually getting that into a cloud or a larger hard drive base?
Yes, we went to a cloud-based system for those.
Great.
So there was an increased cost in moving to that. We no longer are depending on that to be stored on a server. So we went to a cloud-based storage system for those.
Okay, thank you for that. And then you had mentioned the increase in the Humane Society contract. Was that due to instances on their end, or was that like lack of animal control team, or what was that increase due to?
Our costs for the Humane Society go up annually, and it is because of the amount of dogs and cats that go out there that are
Right.
city owned. The ones that we bring out through our animal control officers, the costs, the fees go up. And certainly the fees are dependent upon whether we bring dogs out there, cats out there, rabbits out there. The fees vary. Predominantly, we take a lot of dogs out there, so those fees are higher. And we usually get to the end of the year where we might get cut off because we're already at that max point. We still have 2 or 3 more months left in the fiscal year. So we increased the cost in there because we know we were close to that area.
With that increase cap, did they change the amount of, like, I know they put a cap on like our pit bull turnovers. Did they increase that limit at all, or they just increased the limit, still capped it off?
We've increased the limit. To this point, we have not been turned away with that cap number.
Okay.
They've still been working with us in reference to what we bring out there. So no, they've not turned us away.
That's great news. And then the mountain bike unit, that's amazing. I know you said primarily we use it for parades, larger events. Let's just say our complement, you being optimistic, our complement raises. Is that something we feel like we could use more often, more frequently?
If our complement was where we would perceive, that would be a standalone unit, and they would be out in the community just doing that engagement on their bikes.
That would be amazing.
That would be something that we are striving to go for. But again, we need to increase those numbers in order to do that because we need to cover the basic services.
Absolutely. And then you had mentioned CPR training, that you guys are now trained the trainers. Does that include AED as well?
That does include AEDs, yes.
Awesome, awesome. That was all the questions I've had. Thank you, Madam Vice President. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Rodriguez. Councilwoman Rawls, any questions?
The same questions as Councilman Jones and Rodriguez did, so my questions have been asked and answered. Thank you.
Thank you. President Hill, any questions?
Yes, thank you. Many of my questions related to the Bureau's diversity complement and the overall complement of officers were answered, and then the vacancies. But I did have a few other questions. The first one is around city residents. You mentioned that there was an increase in the number of personnel who are city residents. So I was wondering how many people within the Bureau are city residents.
So over the past two hiring cycles, we hired two individuals that were city residents, born and raised in the city. They're now on the job with us. So that in comparison to previous years, we had none or very little make it through the process completely, but we now have two that we have working for us. And again, we implore more to join those ranks as well. And as long as we can work on getting them through those qualification marks and help them through the process, like we definitely would like to increase that complement of city residents that now work back and give back to the community.
Thank you. My next question is related to the VIP grant. The VIP grant.
Yes.
I'm curious, so City Council and the Harrisburg School District School Board hosted or co-hosted a town hall meeting on Monday, and a resident actually mentioned that this particular grant, I guess the deadline for next year's funding is the end of this month. So I was curious to know, I know that this one was extended through June of 2026. Is the Bureau looking to make a new application for the next cycle of funding? Or
We submitted
Okay.
a modification request back in October. We're just waiting to hear back from PCCD in reference to that.
Okay. And then my last question was around the cameras. Is there an officer or an individual in the Bureau that is constantly monitoring these mobile cameras, or how does that work on your end?
So one of the good things is that the officers have the ability to look at these cameras on cell phones as well. Usually what we're doing right now currently is there's most likely a supervisor who's monitoring the cameras. There are triggers on some of these cameras that allow us to know if it's something that we need to look at the camera, especially in reference to the City Island cameras. Usually after a certain point, anything moves on the island, we get a trigger alert. So as we get that alert, we pull up the cameras, we see what activity is out there, and we can quickly send officers out there to respond. The ones in the neighborhood, we have officers, the district officers pulling those cameras up on their phones, noting that if there's increased activity, they can either make announcements over the camera speaker or they can just go into the area. That way they go into the area not blind, but they go into the area aware of what the target that they're looking for, as well as kind of utilizing some other techniques by getting other individuals. Fifth and Woodbine is one where I think we'll see that come into play more. That one location was placed there because of the abandoned apartments that are there and the buildings. So having officers being able to see that before they come into the area knows where they're targeting and where they're looking. So they're able to view those on their phones or tablets or on the in the computers if they need to.
Okay, one final question. With the use of all of the new technology, how are you evaluating the effectiveness?
Certainly, the example that I gave with that technology on the car cameras, it's decreasing our amount of time that we're putting into other means to solve crimes. The example I gave you about the store and the shooting, that was wrapped up in a matter of 2 hours. If we did not have that surveillance camera footage or the technology to track that vehicle and know where it was going or looking at that, that could have taken days before we would have gotten a suspect without cooperation from anybody else. So we're gauging on how well we're doing our job based upon that technology moving forward.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Thank you very much, President Hill. Councilwoman Davis.
Thank you, Vice President Green. Good evening, officers. Thank you for being here and thank you for your service.
Thank you.
You obviously are under difficult restraints with 38 vacancies, and you obviously have to cover for those. My one question was answered in terms of how do you effectively gauge the crimes that are being solved against all the new technology, and you did answer that. My other question, I may have missed your explanation for this. What criteria do you use for buying the new SUVs? You're currently investing in 3 new SUVs.
So the vehicles, unfortunately, our vehicles run 24/7. There is no downtime for our cars. They go through a period where one officer gets out after their shift and a new officer gets in that vehicle and continues to drive it around. We gauge certainly a mileage period as well as a wear and tear period on those vehicles. We don't replace all the vehicles all at once. We replace them gradually over time, utilizing which vehicles are in worse shape at the end of that fiscal year. So we look to see which vehicles may have been involved in too many accidents, too many repair costs for a vehicle at some point. We look at that point to then replace that vehicle and deadline it and bring in a new vehicle to replace.
Okay. Is the city getting any money back from the vehicles that are being replaced? I mean, are you selling them? Are you donating them? What's being done with those vehicles?
If they are vehicles that are in working condition, usually our VMC is auctioning off those vehicles. They go into an auction pool, and I believe you can add to that in reference to what the funds are or where they come back to.
Yes, some are auctioned if we own them outright, but the city also has an enterprise lease program that replaces the vehicles every so many years. We've entered into maybe it's been 7 years now. And so we have the option to purchase at that point or to, have a lease on a new vehicle. And fleet management and the business office manages that year over year. So if we own them, they have to go for auction. If we don't own them, they go through the lease process.
Okay, thank you. Let's see here. And then one other question. The CSAs, have they not been decreased this year? I mean, the amount of CSAs that we're utilizing?
The number of complement of CSAs?
The CSAs,
Yes.
yes.
Are you asking if the number decreased in how many we had in the start of 2025, 2026?
Yes.
I believe that complement has remained the same. Okay. Yes, we have a full complement of CSAs moving forward into 2026. I know there may be some addition or subtractions to that with people moving on, but we are always striving for a full complement in the CSA program.
Okay. Let's see. And then I do have one more question. The Humane Society, the fees go up every year. Now, does that include, I know that you're catching dogs off the street. How about cats or roosters?
Yes,
Sorry, I had to ask
the
that.
Humane Society, if they're equipped to taking that animal and it is an animal that is from the city, yes, they will charge us for the storage and fees for utilizing that or housing that animal.
The reason why I asked is because I have had several residents contact me and ask me, to have somebody look into the roosters. The roosters get up, I mean, they're up at 3 or 4 in the morning, and for some reason, they're not being addressed,
Okay.
and I don't know.
I can certainly get that information from you afterwards. I can give it to our animal control officer, and they can look into that situation.
I appreciate that.
Yep, no problem.
Thank you. That's it for me, Vice President Green.
Thank
Vice
you very
President Green.
much. Yes.
Just for clarification, when we're dealing with animal control and humane society, I know you mentioned it. Just to clarify for our residents, we do cover. We have it covered to a certain amount of these animals, and then those increasing things. So, can you explain that a little better?
Right, so for the most part, if it's an owned animal, those costs go back to the individual. We don't take, or we don't pay for people to surrender their animals if it's an owned animal. Our costs are incurred by animals that we come across that are not owned, that we're finding on the street, whether they're strays or animals that we find in abandoned properties, or again, ones that we catch in traps or that are a danger to the neighborhood. If we cannot find an owner for those are the animals that we incur costs for when we take them to the Humane Society. Otherwise, those animals that are owned by individuals that no longer want to take care of those animals, those costs go back to that individual.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And speaking of the rooster, we had a runaway rooster on our street. So it is a real thing in the city. But I know there are a lot of residents that do own chickens and roosters, and I don't think that's illegal. Right? They're
I
allowed
was
to,
also
they're
going
allowed to
to,
have them. So if they're
agree
crowing
with
at 5 o'clock in the
Councilwoman
morning,
Davis about the roosters. I had one right in the back of my house, so it is a thing. Just so she doesn't feel crazy.
it is a
Thank
thing,
you.
but it is permitted, I do believe, as long as they're kept a certain way. That it is permitted, so they can be crock-a-doo-a-doing all morning long. And animal control can't come and like seize the animal unless they're not being
There
taken
isn't
care
a
of.
seizure,
Right?
but there is a conversation to be had. We can go out there and politely discuss some of the issues, and then, see where we can come to a mutual agreement. The good thing about that is that's unfortunately what Neighborhood Dispute Settlement, the program that we give $2,500 to annually every year, that's their jobs. They usually work on these issues with neighbors that are not really criminal in nature, but allow neighbors to come together, get on a equal playing field for discussions, and then try to come out with a resolution at the end.
Thank you. I hate to see you chasing the roosters. But my understanding was that the chickens are legal, but the roosters are illegal in the city.
I can offer no legal opinion on that matter. I can look it up for you.
It's not. They are legal. Again, this is something that I'm glad you brought it up, but I didn't believe this when somebody was complaining about this with the chickens and roosters. But it's in the codes.
4 o'clock in the morning.
That's what they do.
Little-
Thank you very much. Councilwoman Daniels, any questions or comments?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't really have many questions for you guys. That was a very thorough presentation. I thank you all for being here tonight and for all that you do for our city. I have one, I'll call it suggestion. I think that the police department should get 1 or 2 kiosks to be put in their lobby so that residents can pay for things such as police reports, parking tickets, or different things. Because if someone has to get a copy of a police report, it costs them $15. They have to leave out of the building, walk around to the treasurer's office when it's open, and then come back to the police department to provide the receipt in order to get a copy of it. So it's just inconvenient. So just a way of trying to make things more convenient for our residents, because the police department is open longer hours than our treasury office. And so by having that kiosk, it just makes things a little more convenient and kind of puts things in your control a little more too. So that's the only comment that I have. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Moving forward will be our Bureau of Fire.
You may speak now.
Thank you, sir.
Sit up straight. I will, I promise.
Good evening, gentlemen. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself and giving us your presentation and overview, then we'll open it for questions. I know it's usually a competition between police and fire, so we'll start the clock now and see how fast you can go.
Thank you, Vice President Green. Chief Brian Enterline, and today we have with us, where'd they go? Senior Deputy Chief Mike Souter, Deputy Chief of Administration Glenn Sadazan, and the Deputy Chief of Training Floyd Wise. They are our management staff, along with currently one administrative assistant in the office that tries to keep us together and on the same page. So with no further ado, we'll go through it, put together a short, brief PowerPoint presentation for us. And I believe that, the majority, and there weren't many questions, but I certainly did want to make emphasis on the significant increase to our budget this year. And that is due to, and thanks to finance that was able to get this in just after the state budget passed. So our appropriation for capital fire protection was increased this year from $5 million to $7 million. And I'll discuss that as we get to back to the sheet. Look at what our department overview is. As we said, and continue to say, our business hours are dictated by the needs of the citizens, which is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Yes, on Christmas and New Year's as well. And our core values, and we'll go to the next slide, that we instill in all of our members as they come on, really comes from, and Chief Sadazan put this together, Lieutenant DeVoe, who was killed in the line of duty, using his name, duty, empathy, vision, ownership, and excellence. And if we can instill that in our members, then the product on the other side for the residents, whether they're interacting with us while our firemen are at the grocery store, while their building next door to them is falling down, or their house is on fire, if we instill those values in them, that outcome for that resident is going to be extremely successful. And we pride ourselves in that success that our members provide to the citizens day in and day out. Moving on, we had only had one retirement this year, firefighter David Gilkey, who gave 21 years of service to the city. We did have 2 firefighter resignations in 2025, and both of those members left for other firefighting jobs. So I think it's important to note, while we are very attractive to work for and very attractive from a fire standpoint, we are starting to see some of our members leave for better pay and benefits elsewhere. So it is slowly starting to trickle into the fire department, and something that I'm hopeful as our union goes into negotiation with the city next year, that we're able to identify some of those problem areas and rectify those so that we're not coming down with significant vacancies. As we know, when I first took over as fire chief in October of 2013, our complement was only 60 people, and we were spending about $3.5 million a year on overtime because of the contractual minimums that we have to maintain at the street level to maintain both the safety of the firefighters and our residents. So we want to make sure going into 2026 that we're prepared for those negotiations. We do know, and I should also say, we do know we were given just 2 days ago a letter of retirement effective January 15th of 2026. And we did receive a letter of retirement that is for May of 2026 as well. So we already have teed up, the civil service examination was administered. We're going through that process, and our goal is to hire for those that have left and the additional positions that we have asking for funding for in 2026, they would be hired in February. So we will have a seamless transition as we go through the year, and we don't start incurring those significant overtime costs. Our total complement As it stands of yesterday was 98. Our 2026 proposed budget complement is 106, and we currently have those 3 vacancies that were mentioned on the previous slide. There is one question about our response time, and I do apologize. We just switched, as council's aware, with the contract to First Due. So we're just starting to get warm and fuzzy with how that system is working. So we don't have good statistics yet collectively for the entirety of the year. But our average response time, and that's dispatch to scene, is 4 minutes and 26 seconds, which is kind of there right in the middle. And so we're analyzing it. We continue to analyze that number, and we're hopeful that with the implementation of this software, it's going to give us some even more granular data that we'll be able to look at. And just as a point of clarification, the national standard through NFPA 1510 is 5 minutes or less. So we're meeting that national standard on average with a 4 minute and 26 second response time from the time that call is given to us until we arrive on scene. These numbers are skewed a little bit because it also includes some that would not be considered emergent calls, and that's what we have to kind of massage our software to be able to weed out a little bit better for us. Moving on to some grant funding, we did apply and were awarded $15,000 from the State Fire Commissioner's Office last year. We used that to repair some major damage that was incurred on Ladder 2 during a fire in the Midtown back in February or March of 2025. We are still working with CDBG. There was $500,000. We still have some projects not completed, upgrades to the diesel exhaust system, the replacement of the bay doors, and there's also ice rescue equipment. And I was just in CDBG today, and we're going to work on figuring out how we get those projects to fruition to a purchase order. We did apply for the Assistance to Firefighters grant for firefighter physicals and cancer screening, and because of the government shutdown, they are way behind, and there's been no announcements on those as of today. We did apply, as we do every year, for that Pennsylvania State Fire Commissioner's grant, which is the maximum ask is $20,000. So obviously we asked $20,000. It typically gets awarded at around $15,000 based upon the formula they divide the money throughout the Commonwealth. We want to use that $20,000 towards our Station 1 bedroom and bathroom remodel that we'll talk about here shortly. For the most part, if you look at the line items in our budget, the majority of them remained flat or went down. If you look at the big line items in the budget that we look at year over year, there was very little increase. However, due to the increased funding from the Commonwealth, and one of the things as we talked through with the local delegation as well as senators and representatives on both sides of the aisle, the concern was that if we give the city more money, what are you going to do with it? And so my promise to them with the taxpayer dollars was that we were going to ensure that money was programmed into the Fire Bureau budget in a way that they could see it. So this, when we look at how we got to these numbers, in 2025, we budgeted for $5 million for capital fire protection. We've been budgeting that since 2014. And prior to that, it was only $598,000. And that's when we saw that first increase that was supplemented with our Act 47 and our receivership status. That's when we got that first kick to $5 million. We hadn't seen an increase in that money since that 2014, 2015 timeframe. We have, though, over the past 6 years, asked for an increase, and that increase has never made it through the budget process. We did have support of the local delegation, but once it got into committee, it was typically removed from the budget. So this year, we asked for $1.7 million based on the rate of inflation. So I laid out a spreadsheet for the Appropriations Committee in the House and the Senate, and our local delegation wrote letters of support, and the number they came up with was $2 million. So it's a little bit more than the rate of inflation, which was a great thing. The good news to that is that because of the delay in the state budget process, we did not realize that additional $2 million in revenue in 2025 yet. Now, I did submit the invoice last week. It is at the Treasury office to be processed, so we expect payment shortly to help balance out the 2025 budget of that $5 million that we were anticipating. So we're using the $2 million additional dollars that was not programmed this year and rolling that as in the 2026 budget. And then we're also anticipating, as we do with budgeting, the additional $7 million for the capital fire protection in 2026, which would cover 2026, 2027, that we submit in July. So that additional $2 million is where we come up with the $4 million in additional appropriation to the Fire Bureau. So how did we break that down? And a couple of things at the high level that we wanted to look at was how do we invest it in our personnel, how do we invest it in education, and how do we invest it in capital expenditures that we haven't been able to afford. So the breakdown for that is all of the bargaining unit members in 2026 get a 4% contractual increase, which is approximately $298,400. We are proposing to finally fund 3 unfunded firefighter trainee positions in the Fire Bureau. And they've been on the books as unfunded positions. I believe it's 3 years now that we put those in. We propose to fund those at a total of about $173,394. Those trainees would start in February, so there's a little bit of savings there from the first month's salary. We also are proposing an additional administrative assistant to the fire chief to assist with our records and bookkeeping and scheduling and answering the phones and everything else. We currently only have 1 administrative assistant for the entirety of the Fire Bureau office, the 4 fire chiefs, the fire inspector, and light duty. So we'd like to increase that. That will give us some latitude then. So whenever, just to give you a real big overview, when our administrative assistant is off, one of the 4 fire chiefs has to answer the phone. We have to take care of all the scheduling. We have to take care of the payroll stuff. So this will give us some depth in our abilities to do that clerical type work. But it will also be able to expand our abilities for reporting, much as the Law Bureau has seen our requests for right to knows has increased dramatically. I get frustrated every time I see one of those come down because it takes a lot of work to go in there and go through our different reporting systems and to get those out to the public, which they deserve. But it takes time away from what that administrative assistant could be doing otherwise. So that is our breakdown of addition to the personnel as we look at it. So how are we going to invest in training and the health and wellness of our firemen? So the first line item, and this was a question that one member had asked, the 421.016 is our med psychological evaluations. That line item was originally budgeted $13,825. That was to hire those 3 new firefighters at the time. That was going to pay for their medicals and their psychological evaluations prior to coming on the job. What we're proposing is, and we had some grant money about 3 years ago that was a regional project that we had won for health and safety. We want to offer and extend voluntary NFPA physicals and cancer screenings up to $140,000 to all members of our bargaining unit. So we just, there was about 20 of us that went through a throat cancer screening about 2 months ago. And we saw, again, about 20 participated in that. So with that number, we're hopeful that we can encourage some more because we know that cancer and health issues, particularly hearts, I'm a living example of that, heart issues, are plaguing firefighters. And that's when we look at firefighter fatality statistics across the country, the #1 killer is heart attacks, followed then closely by vehicle accidents and then cancers post-retirement. Excuse me. So we want to invest in our firefighters and ensure that we're keeping them healthy while they're here and we're keeping them healthy until we get them to retirement. And that's the additional $140,000. That will be in concert with more than likely UPMC. They've been a great partner in the past for our physicals, and we hope to continue working with UPMC. We're also proposing a $20,000 increase in our training budget, and that's to allow our firefighters to go to some more voluntary training that we can pay for them to attend, whatever that may be. We just had several firefighters come back from a high-rise conference in New York City being taught by retired New York City firefighters dealing with fires in high-rises. So we pay for those contractually. We have to pay for those training sessions. They don't get paid to be there, but we pay for the hotel, the travel expense, and then also the any registration fees that are there. So this will give more opportunity for our firefighters to go beyond our 11.1 square miles and bring some information back to us. And it's been very successful over the last many years of sending our firefighters out and then them bringing back and looking and seeing how we can implement different ideas here in Harrisburg. And one of the things that I'm excited about is under the contracted services is a $60,000 addition for the curriculum development for firefighting STEAM-related curriculum that we'll be able to deliver in the schools, whether it's Harrisburg School District or the private schools, in conjunction with also looking at the arts at the Fire Museum and trying to get young folks wanting to come into jobs, both not only in fire, but in police and also emergency medical services. We have a great working relationship with UPMC Community Life Team EMS, who has hired many city residents now through their academy program to be an EMT, and we hope to expand that and using the STEAM curriculum, the development of that, hopefully we can energize some other youth in the city that wants to become emergency responders. Interestingly enough, while we were having a short dinner right before this, I had a text message from somebody that would like to get their young 16-year-old involved in how they can get more involved with emergency services, particularly here in Harrisburg. So that's exciting that we see that. And I think this will complement what the police department's doing so that we are trying to, which we have failed at, as well as the police, trying to bring our own residents to protect our residents. And I think that builds a lot better community for us. Moving on to building improvements and capital projects. As you know, we've been cash strapped for 1 or 2 years. And our buildings were built in 1980. We've been investing a ton of money over the last 10 years back into those buildings to make them livable, habitable, and quite frankly, safe for our firefighters. So we are proposing increasing. We had $175,000 originally in the budget, and we are proposing $1.475 million to accomplish quite a few projects in our capital projects that have been outlined for many years in our capital projects. So that includes the Station 1 bunk room, bathroom, and the captain's office, Station 2's bunk room, bathroom, and Battalion Chief's office, generator replacements at Fire Station 1 and 2, Fire Station 8 exterior roof replacements, some electric switchgear replacement that was recommended in the capital projects list for the city that was conducted by an outside entity, and a concrete ramp replacement at either Station 1 or 2, whichever is deemed in the most deplorable condition. Excuse me. We have to complement that, the $1.475 million. Council remembers just last week you approved the SGS Architects proposal for Station 2 bedroom and bathroom. We're going to, now that this money has come to fruition, we're going to ask for an addendum to that contract to add the Battalion Chief's office at Station 2 to that, as well as Station 1. So that contract will be increased to be able to do both of these projects at one time, which will give us an economy of scale to be able to get one contractor to do both, and we'll be able to do it in a way that it's going to last more than 5 years. And that's what we're pretty excited about. Additionally, to fund that, because we don't believe that that's going to be quite enough for the variety of projects that we have here that are significant needs, We did apply and just presented yesterday to the Dauphin County Game Advisory Board, and we are asking for an additional $250,000 from Dauphin County to assist with the Station 1 project. Council will recall we were awarded $58,000 from the State Fire Commissioner's Office to assist with the Station 2 project. And then additionally, in our grant proposal for this year to the State Fire Commissioner, we should be receiving about $15,000, again, to offset that cost at Station 2. So we're going to cobble that all together. I don't want to call it a shell game, but we're bringing all these funds together to try and accomplish a whole lot. And then on top of that, we're working very closely with the Harrisburg Volunteer Firemen's Relief Association, which has been a extremely valuable resource for us. We have about 20 active volunteer firefighters in varying capacities throughout the city, and we're able to use their funding to do some projects. What we anticipate entering into a memorandum of understanding will be to also put fire sprinklers in all 3 fire stations in 2026. We're going to look at Station 8 as kind of a standalone, and then we will look at Station 1 and 2 to be installed in conjunction with the bedroom and bathroom and office projects as they go through. That way, we don't have contractors coming in and undoing what a contractor had just put in. So I think it'll be a nice seamless transition. It pushes it down the road a little bit further for us than what we had forecasted the sprinkler project was going to be, but I think overall it's going to be beneficial for the outcome of the total project. Moving on, we're adding $1.3 million for new apparatus to replace Ladder 2, which we purchased back in 2015, and Wagon 4, which was purchased back in 2018. This money, much like I talked about with Fireman's Relief for the fire sprinklers, this money will actually be doubled. So by the city spending the $1.3 million, we will get an additional $1.3 million from Fireman's Relief so that we're able to afford these rigs. The $1.3 million, just for clarification, would not even buy one rig if the city was buying it itself. So that $1.3 million will be combined with the money from Harrisburg Volunteer Firemen's Relief, as well as a drawdown of $500,000 from the Fire Bureau's Special Operations Fund, which, as council will remember, last year, 2025, was the first year we made any contribution to that fund for an apparatus replacement program. So we will draw down the needed funds from that in this year's budget to balance whatever we need to make those 2 purchases. We are looking, for those interested in where we're buying apparatus, we are actually looking at a Pennsylvania-based manufacturer for one of the rigs. The other rig, there are no manufacturers in Pennsylvania, so the ladder truck will be coming from out of state, but we're looking to bring that engine company, the Wagon, into Pennsylvania here for building. So it will maintain the viability of that apparatus manufacturer here in Pennsylvania. And then the last amount is $300,000. And this is, again, a transfer to the apparatus replacement fund. It lives in the Fire Bureau's Special Revenue Fund and that's going to help us, again, going down the road to bank a couple of $100,000 every year so that we're not looking at and draining the general fund of $1 million every time we need to buy a fire truck. We're doing that gradually. It's kind of like a lease to own, but we're paying ourselves to do it, if you look at it from that aspect. So out of that total additional appropriation from the state of $4 million, 3.965 of that is going right into identified projects for the Fire Bureau. And in full disclosure, I will be sharing this with our local delegation as well as those elected officials on the Appropriations Committee, both the House and Senate. I actually talked with some of them today in person, and they are absolutely ecstatic that we have a document that shows how we are spending the taxpayer dollars that are coming from the Commonwealth, which is often questioned. With that, I believe, so our goals, yeah, you can go on, Jared, I'm sorry. So our departmental highlights and goals for 2026 are to continue with our current staffing and response model, to continue that effective response, continue to invest in apparatus and equipment that best serves our citizens, refresh our 5-year plan to help forecast future growth and opportunities, enhance our training programs and opportunities for all of our members, provide medical screenings for all members, invest in our capital projects, and continue community engagement through our smoke alarm installation program, carbon monoxide alarm installations, street fairs, block parties. One of our favorites is the backdrop for this particular slide, National Night Out, which the police department has done an amazing job with. Station tours, which I believe we saw nearly every student from Lincoln School at Station 2 over the last 3 weeks, and then any additional fire prevention activities that we are able to be involved in. And then the final slide is what our performance matrix are. And again, the NFPA 1710 staffing response model. So that's looking at both staffing and then that response time to the incidents. And we will be having our ISO survey most likely in 2027, which looks at our staffing, our training complement, our travel distance and number of engine and truck companies, the number of fire hydrants, and more importantly, the inspection of those fire hydrants by Capital Region Water, the tools and equipment, and then the testing of our pumps, aerials, hose, and ladders, all of which, with the exception of the aerial devices, are done in-house. So our firefighters actually conduct all these testings of the pumps on an annual basis. Every foot of hose that we have is tested annually, as well as every ladder that we have on both our engine companies and truck companies, which is a significant undertaking that if we were to contract that out, is probably in excess of $100,000 worth of work. So they do a great job. That helps us, again, with that ISO rating, which at the end of the day gives lower insurance rates to the citizens of the city. And with that, I will answer any additional questions that you may have.
Thank you, gentlemen, very much. I don't have any questions to begin with. I will start to my far left again with Councilman Jones.
Thank you, President Green. What is your name? Chief Henry. Now, thank you guys again. Always you come with a thorough presentation. You and I obviously had a conversation. So you did explain about the relief funds that you guys got, that'll be matching funds for buying the trucks, which are very expensive. So thank goodness for those matchings. Other thing that I'll just ask you just the same questions that I asked the police far as staffing, far as your staff. Some of the numbers that aren't reflected here, of course, again, fire and police have a large portion of our budget. So I look at the overtime numbers, look at the, firefighter morale. And again, I'll start with the health and wellness. Are we doing anything? I know you have a bunch of training things. Are we looking to make sure, again, that the firefighters, because you guys see a lot, police officers see a lot. I've learned a lot being able to come and spend some time at some of your stations out there. Did a couple shifts with the guys and got to learn a little bit more about what they do and what they're faced with every time they go out. And I think it's very important that even the city itself, all of the employees here, all of the administration, everybody, I think health and wellness is something huge. And to your point, when you send your guys out to the training, me and a few of my colleagues had the opportunity to go out to Salt Lake City last week to the National League of Cities. President Hill and I sat into one of the first meetings. It was public safety, and this was a huge topic to make sure that, and that's why I continue to ask this question. So do you have any plans, or do you have a program with some of the funding that's here made available to look into the health and wellness area?
So, yeah, I'll address it on several fronts. So because the city is self-insured, we do have and are mandated by our insurance carrier, excess insurance carrier, to have a safety committee. So we have what's called our Joint Training and Safety Committee, JTSB, Joint Training and Safety Board. And actually, we meet tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. So we look at all aspects of training and safety at that, and that's comprised of both labor and management, as well as members at large from the Fire Bureau. And we meet every other month, and I think some of the big things that have come out of that, we are rewriting some SOGs. We are looking at, better looking at near-miss incidents. So when we have a fire where somebody gets hurt, where we have a fire where somebody nearly gets hurt. We are looking at them more in depth to try and learn and then educate why this happened, how this happened. And that has been fairly successful over the years. I think we're getting better at that. The use of technology, back in the day, it was just a written report with no pictures to it. Right now, we're able to put together, you can literally do 3D stuff inside of a building if you want to. So it's getting a lot more detailed, and then more importantly, we learn from that. And I think as we continue to build this, and that's what Chief Wise is one of in his wheelhouse as Deputy Chief of Training, is working on these after-action reports. And then also, even on the minor fires where nobody may have got injured, looking at those, what went right, what went wrong. In the big world, 3 ups, 3 downs. And that also helps us to build and understand better where we can provide. The $140,000 for the physicals and cancer screening is going to be a significant boost for us. I think that's our baseline. And we were hopeful. Dauphin County Fire Chiefs Association, working with Dauphin County, was trying to bring in we have a peer support group as well that many of our members went to. I think there's about 10 of them that went through the peer support that has proven to be invaluable because of the things that we see. The stuff that our guys see on a daily basis, you can't unsee. And Councilman Jones is well aware of this, as is Councilman Rodriguez from the calls that you guys have been on. The stuff that our emergency responders, because I don't want to forget about them, police, fire, and EMS, and EMS in this city see some horrific things daily. And that stuff builds up inside of you. And we do see a significant number of, unfortunately, EMS, police, and firefighters committing suicide. If we look at the numbers of firefighters that commit suicide annually, it's more than those killed in the line of duty. So we want to make sure that we're providing for that. Unfortunately, I don't believe that the funding is going to come through from the county to fund that. So we may look at taking a slice of this funding to look and bring that in-house and just make it a fire bureau centric. And that's something we have to wait and see on over the next couple of months, whether the county's able to fund that or not. But it is so important. And, it is that important that the governor just signed a bill that PTSD is now a work-related injury for fire, police, and EMS, which it never was before. It was considered part of your job, which it is, make no mistake about it. However, we never looked at the psychological impact.
Absolutely.
And we, unfortunately, one of our retirees did commit suicide after he left here. So when you look at that hits home. And, there's been multiple EMS members in central Pennsylvania have committed suicide, as well as police officers. So it's something we need to invest in. If we're saying we're truly invested in our people, which is our greatest asset, then we also need to address those issues that may not be so fun to talk about.
Okay. Another thing, this is, again, just my observation being at some of the stations. I did tell them that I would ask these questions as far as staffing and the capacity of where we're at in the borough and those mutual aid. I got it this time. Mutual aid services, right? Got to keep thinking about that and how they're actually turning out for you guys. I know it's a huge help for us, and I can say this on record that your response time is excellent. I actually witnessed it. I couldn't believe it when you were showing those numbers. I didn't think you were telling a lie or anything, but just watching it and then being able to experience the response time of how quick you guys were on the scene, even with that mutual aid response, there's some concern in that, where you have some fire stations that don't have paid firefighters or whatnot, and we do. And then, our guys getting out there to the scene, and then some people, I don't want to put it all out there, but you get what I'm saying. As far as the mutual aid and the responses from us and other people, I just want to get a clear understanding for those guys that may seem to be affected by this in some capacity. As far as the staffing, overtime, mutual aid.
So, yeah, let me, that's a lot to unpack, but let me unpack that the best I can. And you know, and I think that council knows one thing, that we're fully transparent here in everything we do in the Fire Bureau. So we'll talk about staffing. We have a contractual obligation of 15 firefighters and 1 officer every day. In full disclosure, we're staffing that most days at 17, 18, and on good days, we're staffing that at 20 firefighters on shift per day. That is something we could have never attained just a couple of years ago. Our goal, looking at it from a response time, looking at it to meet the NFPA 1710 standard, would be that we would have 3 to 4 on every rig. We currently have 3 on every rig. When I first took over as fire chief, there were several rigs that we only had 2 firefighters on. It is very difficult to accomplish the task that a firefighter has to do with only 2 firefighters on that truck. So we were able to, through everything that we've done, we were able to get 3 firefighters on every rig. Now, we went down 1 rig in the city, and we're able to redistribute those, but the safety aspect of that was enormous. Now, where we are with staffing, as we continue to bring new firefighters on, we are now able to have 4 firefighters on many of the rigs. And we'll go back to a fire that just occurred on North 18th Street, and where response time and staffing makes the difference, and where some other municipalities are not seeing this response. And quite frankly, we don't do enough to advertise how good we are, because it's never fun to boast, right? But when you look at some of the small fires that occur in the city, and we go to a lot of fires in the city. Yesterday was another example of the response time. Had that been anywhere else, and had that response time been 2 or 3 minutes more, it was the difference between a kitchen fire and burning 2 houses down. North 18th Street, this was about 6 weeks ago, C Battalion was working, and we got a fire on the 2nd floor of a building. Ended up being an illegally, and I don't want to go off on a tangent, but it was an illegally renovated house that was under illegal renovations that hadn't had permits, no electrical permits, no electrical inspections, and the ceiling light in the bathroom caught on fire. Because of the response time, we were able to hold that and keep that fire to the 1 house. That night, we were working with 21 firefighters on the street. So nearly every rig had 4 firefighters on it. And the feeling pulling in, knowing the building, it was a duplex with a real tight exposure. Had we not had that staffing, had we not had that response time, there would have been 4 buildings involved. And so that is very tough to quantify to the public and to you as counselors what that actually means. But what that means in return is that insurance policy that the citizens are paying through their taxes to Harrisburg is tenfold to what you're going to get anywhere else. And we will put our response time and firefighters against any. The work that they do is tremendous. And Harrisburg residents see it, and they thank our guys daily. And really, truly, we're not looking for the thank you, but when you interact with our guys, it means something to them, right? It means that they're not just another guy walking down the street, and that interaction is key. Again, when we look at psychological things, the stuff that we're seeing, sometimes just that thank you is enough to get those guys out of the woods, right? So that's the response time and staffing end of things. And then when we look at, and I do want to address the overtime, because you did, overtime kind of goes along with that. So for this year, even with staffing pretty heavy, we had a significant number of vacancies because of military deployments. We have 2 long-term injuries in the firefighter ranks, and we have 1 long-term injury and 1 long-term leave in the lieutenant's ranks. So that has raked up a ton of overtime that is unanticipated. Factor also in, there were 2 deployments with the USAR team that were approximately $100,000 of overtime. That reimbursement will be coming back to the city, and so that kind of offsets itself. So the grand scheme of things, probably February, March, I could tell you where we were once we get those reimbursements from FEMA. So overtime has always been a factor. Understand also that our overtime number also pays for holiday pay. there's nowhere in the budget to account for holiday pay. So any day that our firefighters work on a holiday, and there's 13 holidays in the year, they are paid double time for that particular day. So there's 24 hours of overtime, double time, for 13 days. So when you start doing the math, it's a significant number that also is drawn from that overtime amount. So that's why sometimes that looks a little inflated. However, if we go in the Wayback Machine to 2012, 2013, and I think it was in 2014 when I finally proposed in the budget to take out the premium time, that was another number that was coming out of that budget. So back then, we were almost $3.5 million in overtime. If we maintain that at around $1 million, we're extremely lucky and happy based upon the work. And again, those FEMA deployments, which we get reimbursed for. So it's not really costing the city that full $1 million, if you want. I think we were around 800,000. I can actually tell you where we were just last week. We were at, total to date as of last week was $859,340
And
for overtime.
and again, so I see you bringing on another assistant.
Correct, yes.
And again, when I was referring to the spending, of course, of overtime, but just thinking about, again, the firefighters and their morale, I would ask the same question for the police. Are the same people getting this? How do we spread this around? But I think this assistant will help make sure.
So, yeah, overtime in the
Appropriately.
Fire Bureau is all voluntary. So if we call Lamont Jones today for overtime, you can say no. And we have a lot of firefighters that say no, and sometimes that's why the numbers look skewed. We have a lot of firefighters, particularly the younger generation, is not really interested in working overtime as the older generation was. The generation I come up with, if that phone rang, you were working. It didn't matter if you had a birthday party, a Christmas party, you were going to work because it was overtime. That has kind of waned. So there's a group of firefighters that still want that overtime, but there's also another group that doesn't, right? So there's no even distribution because it's not mandatory.
Gotcha.
In some departments, particularly south of the border, they are being mandated. So when you come to work one day, you might not go home for two because you're mandated to stay and work overtime. We are very fortunate that we're no longer doing that. We did that here 2011, 2012, and 2013, 2014, and part of 2015. It was horrendous. So I feel that we've gotten that in control. And those that want overtime get it, and those that don't, they live their lives and do what they need to do. And then addressing the mutual aid, that mutual aid is one of those things that it's a necessary evil. Quite frankly, being honest and open to the public and to you, that is one of the reasons why the House and the Senate agreed
gave
to
that
the
money.
additional appropriation because they know that the constituents that they have outside of the city are also being protected by Harrisburg firefighters, and that's what they're thankful for. And so, in full disclosure, that is part of that reason we get that funding. If we weren't going out, if we were to say we're no longer going outside the city, two things would happen. Number one, nobody would be coming into the city, and we would be in trouble. And number two, we would not have that support for additional funding to protect the Capitol complex.
All right, yeah, so you pretty much answered my questions. I'll leave the other ones that were asked for my colleagues. But thank you, guys, again, for another good presentation. I look forward to coming out in the summer when it gets a little warmer to get on that water, see what you guys do.
Yet. You got to ride in the winter when it's
No,
cold.
no, no,
when it's snowing.
no. That's it.
Thank you very much, Councilman Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Chief, it's always great to see you and the team. Just want to thank you all for the amazing accomplishments throughout the years. And you're right, I've had the pleasure of wearing Chief Enterline's hat and going through the training obstacles with State Senator Kim and a few others. And I think sometimes it's underappreciated by people that just don't know. They just see the firefighters as someone that, I've heard you refer to it. What do I know? I cut holes and spray water, right? I've heard you say it a few times, but there's a lot of, I guess, just a lot of truth that a lot of the residents, I wish we could just kind of fill them up and really know, not only is it just a suit, but I know you guys stand up to the challenges day by day and your own lives are at risk. you know, for moments you don't even realize. You wake up and you don't even realize the task and the challenges that's ahead. And this is someone speaking from, like you said, I've went on the scene of fires and seen what just an ember can do to a building, and seeing the aftermath of it and a displaced family and so on and so forth. So it's just, you know, I'm really grateful to have a team such as yours. But I also want to highlight the river rescue initiatives that you guys set forth on. And I mean, you guys just rescued, what was it, about 4 or 5 people like in the water earlier this year. I don't know if they were bathing or just in the water. Could you speak to that briefly, Chief?
Yeah, so we have that little body of water out here called the Susquehanna River. You know, and I think we should go in the Wayback Machine, because just 20 years ago, we really didn't respond to the river for water rescue.
Right.
And so we've invested in our personnel and in equipment so that we can safely and effectively operate on that river, and it has paid dividends with folks that, you know, unfortunately went over the Dock Street Dam. Again, it goes back to that response time, the staffing, the tools and equipment, knowledge, skills, and abilities of the firefighters is why some of those people are still alive today, whether that's in a building, whether that's because they went into cardiac arrest, or they got into trouble on the Susquehanna River.
Well, I appreciate it, and I think they underestimate how fast that water is actually moving sometimes. But yeah, and the NFP 710, you know, you guys hit it dead on. You know, anything closer would be perfection. So, you know, from the city, from me and my family, because I've also been on the opposite end of you guys having to come in the home and throw the blankets over us. So I thank you all, and I just look forward to the monumental work you'll keep on doing throughout the year. So,
and maybe if I may, Councilman, and we appreciate your steadfast support of us. Maybe with this additional position and positions and training money that we have here, maybe we can come up with a Citizens Fire Academy where we can take a handful of citizens to really subject them to what our folks go through on a daily basis.
we still have it written, Chief, from what we proposed to the district a few years ago. So
That's still there. And in full disclosure, I did talk with Dr. Benjamin Henry about 4 or 5 months ago, and they're still interested in it. Obviously, they have some things they're dealing with right now.
I look forward to a follow-up then.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you very much. Councilwoman Rawls, any questions?
Good evening. No, I don't have any questions. Thank you. It was a very informative presentation.
Thank you. President Hill?
Thank you. My question around the average response time to an emergency call was answered, but I do have a few other questions for you. How many of your employees within the Bureau are city residents?
That would have to come from HR.
Okay.
Yeah, Chief Sadizan's whisper in my ear. We believe it's 6 or 7.
Okay.
I can tell you this: 50% of our management staff lives in the city, and that's no dig at anybody. I'm just saying 50%. Numbers do what they do, and then the rest are firefighters. So two chief officers, and then 4 or so firefighters live in the city still.
Okay. Thank you. What is the Bureau's diversity complement?
That number we did not get from HR, so
Okay.
HR should be providing that for all departments in their presentation to council.
Okay. Well, then I don't have any other questions. Thank you for your presentation. Oh, I was happy to learn of the training opportunities provided, the after-action reports. I'm a big fan. I think they're highly effective for evaluation, and the STEAM-related curriculum. Excited to learn more or to see that come to fruition too.
We are as well, and I think what I'll do for the, as we always do, I'd love to give you an annual report in February or March,
Okay.
once we have all of our data compiled, and give you a pretty big overview of accomplishments and call volume and things like that. And I think we will also include one of the after actions with some redacted information that we'll be able to share with you, so you can see what, the fruition of all the labor, right?
Okay. No, that sounds good. Thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Thank you very much. Councilwoman Davis, any questions?
Thank you, Vice President Green. Good evening, Chief Ederline, Deputy Chief Mike Souter, and then the other 2 Deputy Chiefs. Good evening.
Good
Thank you
evening.
for being here. Thank you for your service. I got a chance to look at the fire station on 6th Street over the Halloween holiday. And I'm telling you, that fire station looks like the Hyatt Regency of the fire station.
Because of the chairs? We did not buy the chairs. That came with grant money from our volunteer fire company. That is one thing that we will not buy is furniture for the lounge. So we don't buy furniture and we don't buy TVs for the lounge. So it is fairly nice in there. You should have been in there 5-6 years ago when the ceiling tiles were falling out and there was orange curtains from 1980 still hanging in the windows.
Oh, wow. Okay, well.
Vintage, mid-century modern.
So I'm always concerned for the residents, and my questions are centered around the community engagement. Here you have the smoke alarm installation, the carbon monoxide alarm installation. With being winter, and my understanding is that there are more fires in the wintertime. How are you engaging with the community, and are these smoke alarms and carbon monoxide alarms available to the residents?
Sure. So we have several ways to get smoke and carbon monoxide alarms from us. And I will preface this by you don't just call us and we're going to ship them to you. We're going to ship them to you, but they're going to be in a fire truck with some firemen, and they're going to install them as well. You can either fill out, there's a Laserfiche form on the city website under the Fire Bureau tab for smoke detector, carbon monoxide detector installation. There's also the ability to call into the fire chief's office. And then the third way is when our firemen are on a call that may not be a fire, so it might be it might be an EMS call, it might be a water leak, it might be a natural gas emergency or something like that. They will check those houses to ensure that they have smoke alarms in them, carbon monoxide alarms, before they leave and install them on scene. So with our new reporting software, and I almost forgot, the CSAs also are now gathering information and bringing us addresses to interact, again, to install those carbon monoxide and smoke alarms. So we now are gathering that information on the numbers that are being installed with the new reporting software. So we'll be able to really intelligently talk about that and maybe even be able to heat map that based upon the address on where we're installing them. But I can tell you we had about $20,000 in CDBG money that we spent for smoke alarms. There was about 400 of them, I believe, 450 that we purchased. And we've probably, and that was in June, we've probably exhausted half of that already this year. So it is a significant bonus for our residents, and all you need to do is call.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that. And then you mentioned that most of the fires, if I'm not mistaken, are from smoke detectors not working or missing batteries, or you mentioned electrical.
No, so our two main fire types are kitchen fires, so unattended cooking, and then also electrical.
Okay.
And, you know, we're fortunate we don't see, while we have had our share of arson fires in Governor Square, we don't see a significant number of arson fires in Harrisburg. So that doesn't rank high on our list, though our numbers are a bit skewed because of our friends at Uptown Partners in Governor Square.
Do you see many illegal electrical wirings in the city? I mean, you mentioned it.
Yes.
Yes.
Then that brings me to my next question. Whenever, I know the city has the tax sales every year, I'm thinking specifically the judicial sale. Are those, before they're sold, are those properties inspected for electrical to make sure that, so it's just the taxes that the city makes sure that they're up to date on the taxes?
Yeah, that is a whole, and the walls in the codes office must be bugged because Ann, Bruce, and I, and Wayne were really actually just talking about this 6 hours ago. It is a significant issue we deal with. Codes has a yeoman's job. We are a third-class Rust Belt city, right? We don't have a lot of we don't have a lot of maintenance done on our properties, right? Because we have a lot of absentee landlords, and you guys know me. If I get out of line, Neil will stop. But we deal with a lot of stuff because of absentee landlords in the city. We deal, I talked about the fire on 18th Street. Illegally renovated, no permits ever pulled, no permits for electric, no permits for even the renovation, and we have a fire in it. Thank goodness nobody died, right? That happens more times than not. And those are the things that are difficult to track down. It's happening behind the walls and doors of a house that we can't legally go in unless there's an emergency. And so those are some of the things that we deal with. We were talking about today, and if I were to tell council I need more money, I would ask for an additional $750,000 for demolition, so that we can make a bigger impact with demolition. Because not only do those houses have all these issues with them, they're next to houses that don't have issues, that are now having issues because of the house has fallen down. And additionally, they are death traps for firefighters. It's a proven fact that these abandoned derelict buildings kill firemen. And so the more of those we can get rid of and or have renovated, the better our community becomes and the safer it becomes for not just the community but also our firefighters. So it is a multi-pronged approach, and I think in 2026, with some things that Codes is looking to do, with some things that are near and dear personally to me, I believe that we will have some kind of a plan to maybe start to try to address some of these issues that we're dealing with. It's not going to be perfect, right? But we might be able to start to try to address some of those issues. We're never going to stop. And if we think we are, we're wasting resources. We're never going to stop all the illegal renovations, all the illegal electrical things that go on here that start fires. But we can certainly crack down and start defining more what we're looking at when we're out there.
Thank you, Chief Ederline, and I personally think the city is doing a great job with demolishing the older buildings, so that's just my thought. Thank you.
We are.
Thank you very
Director
much.
Montgomery and Public Works does a phenomenal job. And I think when we look at what the return on the investment is, we don't really understand that because we didn't have a fire in it, and we didn't burn out the next door neighbor's house. We didn't kill a fireman in it. We didn't kill a vagrant in it, right? And so that becomes an unknown.
Yes. Thank you again. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilwoman Daniels, any questions or comments?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't have any questions for you guys. Your presentations are always thorough. I am excited about the STEAM education curriculum. I look forward to seeing that. And I just want to say congratulations on your increased funding. And thank you for being an advocate for the city of Harrisburg, because I know you were constantly over there making sure they knew all the work that is done to protect the residents and also the state workers and state buildings. So I thank you for being there to advocate and get that for us.
We appreciate that. And one last plug I'll make, and I believe it's in the budget somewhere. I'm not a budget scholar on every line item, but having a dedicated lobbyist for the city is paramount. I was able to get this over the finish line with the help of a lot of people. And I think having somebody there constantly lobbying for us is a significant benefit for everybody. And I think it will make it easier going forward for those additional increases to keep that capital fire protection money increasing with inflation.
Thank you very much. I will agree with you.
Yeah, that's
And-
not in the budget, Chief. So I'll be spending some time in Capitol Hill
Can
to
I,
save us some money.
can I make an amendment to the budget then?
Thank you. Are there any other comments or questions for the Fire Bureau? Seeing none, thank you, gentlemen, very much again. We'll be moving on to the Bureau of Codes next.
She probably was. Look and see.
Good evening.
Good evening, City Council. Glad to be here. My name, Ann Montgomery, Codes Administrator.
Bruce Henry, Deputy Codes Administrator. Wayne Werfel, Data Analyst.
Melva Wright, Health Officer.
And back to me. Okay, all right, so we have our department overview. Do want to significantly note on the overview here, the residential electrical inspector position that was in the 2025 budget was started July, and it has been going very well. He's a very busy person, and it's been remarkably successful. Also want to note that we updated our forms, and we have those completed. And one of the forms that we updated was the inspections that are required during construction. And what we did was instead of giving the person a list of required inspections, we have the list and the assigned inspector and his phone number. And that has probably increased our inspections from 25% to 75 to 80%. And usually the contractors are already aware of it. It's the do-it-yourself guy that is not calling us for inspections, and now he has a paper, he understands it better, and he's calling and getting his inspections done. Budget changes, nothing significant. Department diversity, numbers are there. We do have one person that is bilingual, but not 100% fluent in Spanish. Okay. Grants and special projects. Well, wait a minute, I think I missed a page. No current vacancies. Grants and special projects is the ongoing conversion over to the Munis software. The ARPA projects, those funds that we had for 2025 have been exhausted. We had 10 demolitions under one contractor and 2 party wall contracts under a different contractor for that project. We're going to request in the new budget 2 new positions. A codes officer and an administrative assistant. The plumbing inspector and the electrical inspector, typically before we're helping out with property maintenance and rental inspections, but due to the people calling and getting their inspections like they're supposed to and the increased volume, they're not able to help with those as much. So we're asking for another codes officer to help with the property maintenance and rental inspections due to the increased volume. And the administrative assistant position, with the electrical inspector in our office, then that's created a little extra workload for them when they issue permits. And even with 3 people, we're still short-staffed. So with the increased volume there, we need the 4th person. Year-to-date budgets have about a 6% larger budget than 2025, and I think we've recalculated those numbers, double-checked them, and it's more like 5% when we ran them again just to make sure we were correct. No instances where year-to-date spending in 25 significantly exceeds the proposed budget line for 2026. Not aware of any roles exceeding 2% increases. However, the contract with ASME expires the end of the month, and they're still in negotiations for that, so we don't have a accurate figure for 2026 salaries for staff. Department highlights for the year. We had 31 demolitions projected. We did have 39 completed, 2 pending, probably be completed by the end of the year. We have iPads or tablets for each codes officer to take out in the field with them. Again, we hit on the residential inspector position. Immediate positive results there. Very busy, and he's very conscientious of having them meeting compliance. And like I said, we updated the forms. They're also in Spanish, and they're also on the city website. Another project we started this year was converting our paper files to digital format. So we have 3 large file systems with all our files that we have required to keep, that the Pennsylvania Universal Construction Code requires us to keep. And we often get requests for past files. And we have to take them out because they want them by email and scan them to email them. So having them digitized is going to reduce the amount of paper storage, increase the ability to send that by email, and give us more office space. And we're continually updating the background information for the transition into the new Munis software, and that's still ongoing. And like I said before, we completed the demo bundle from the ARPA funds, and we just recently created an informational welcome letter for new owners of property in the city. Just went out 2 weeks ago, so we don't have any feedback on that yet, but we do believe that's going to be a successful venture. So the demolitions for the year, there was the 10 in the bundle, 4 that were subcontracted, and 25 done by the in-house crew, with the 2 more pending for the in-house crew for the end of the year. For 2026, the goal is to have at least 20 demolitions, fill the requested new codes officer position in the first quarter, fill the newly requested administrative assistant position in the second quarter, converting the paper records to digital format. That's a large on-taking, and it's not a 1-year thing because of the expense. It's going to be over probably 3 or 4 years till we get it completed. Still converting for the Munis software, provide training and testing to get 80% of our codes officers to a codes officer 2 level, and the demolition of the blighted properties. So we have currently have 3 codes officers at codes officer 2 level. 5 more would be the 80% to get us to 80%. And if the in-house crew continues to complete 20 to 25 demos a year, anything more would require more funding for outsourced contractors. And performance metrics, we have one there. Demolitions, we have benchmarks based on an array of moving targets and goals from they're fluid year to year. Public complaints, we assess those, make sure that everything's investigated, assessed, and brought in to some level of conclusion. Sometimes they're unfounded, and sometimes they're you have to send a notice out. Continue to do the inspections of permitted work. We have a lot of permits that are never completed, but we try to ensure that the process of the active work is monitored and annotated for safety occupants. Is a vital, important part of the inspections. Codes officers as they're going out to do inspections, if they see something in a neighborhood, self-generate the complaint. and carry through with the complaint, send the notices as needed. And the metrics in terms of volumes, we'd have to go through our records and databases. We try to keep them updated and adhere to our internal SOPs for record keeping as required. And the goal of reducing condemned properties, specifically occupied condominiums, requires a very watchful eye on the progress of the permitted work for those units and legal action for those who are not working towards compliance. So you're probably going to ask me why are some permits not completed. We get people that, they run out of money and that's where the project sits. Sometimes they just get the permit without the intention of completing the work because they got a condemnation order and then they're required to act within so many days. And then they look at the project and, that's more than what I can handle. So they just walk away from it. And then we have people that they do the work and they never call us for the inspections. So in our records then it shows as, not completed. And, okay, and if that's, any questions?
I don't have any questions to start with. I'll start with Councilman Jones. Any questions?
Yes, thank you for your presentation. Not so I guess there's some of the questions. One of the things that I've been, hearing over and over again. So first question is, how many codes enforcement officers are you guys at?
We have 12.
12.
Yes.
Why did I think it was a shorter number than that actually go around throughout the 7 districts? 12 people to cover the 7 districts.
We have,
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm thinking about.
yeah,
But there are 7 districts, but 5.
yeah, we divide the city into 5 areas. And then there's 2 guys to an area, so that's 10. Then we have the commercial inspector, and then the electrical inspector. So the plumbing inspector helps to cover one of those areas.
Wow, I really thought you guys had a lower number considering the amount of complaints that come about inspections and things that are going on in neighborhoods, illegal car lots, all these other rooming houses, all of those different things. And I thought you guys weren't pretty much understaffed. That's why I asked how many did you have. I wasn't aware of that. I wasn't. So my suggestion would be ask for some more money to get some more officers to help out in that area. Because again, you have this in one of your, I think in your performance metrics. Codes officers complaints searching for and attending solution for a high percentage of those complaints carries a significant safety enhancement for the public. And the reason why I'm saying that, because I think this can help in the public safety area of our community when people are complaining about cars being illegally parked in their neighborhood, illegal mechanic shops in their neighborhood, and then neighbors get into disputes and then someone end up losing their lives. So I think, that's why I was asking that question. But if you guys have that many number, that many officers, so my next question would be, and you said you already asked the question, to some of the complaints, some of them may take months, some of them may take years to be completed. So what do you think the deficiency, if there is, if we can call it that, to get those? I know you get an abundance of calls, but is it more officers? Would that help? I'm just trying to see where we need to go from here.
Well, to handle all the complaints, like I said, the plumbing inspector and the electrical inspector are extremely busy with just those inspections. So we need the extra guy to help with the complaints, because they just can't
They keep coming.
can't cover them all. So
Yeah. So that's a good thing to know. The other thing would be, as far as Well, it's along the same lines. Some of the rooming houses that, you know, I know you guys get a ton of them. I get a ton of complaints about them being operational in the community. Again, some people are afraid to even say anything to them. Of course, we want to make sure that the enforcement officers are safe as well, approaching rather to just a citation, if I'm correct. That's what you guys can offer. You can't do anything else other than that, right?
Correct. You know, we offer,
Then it moves on to the
can't- we
DJ's
can't-
office.
We cannot, we have no power to evict, so it's up to the landlord to do the right thing.
Okay, so that may be where I think the community needs to understand that as well. Once you guys are called, and some of them that you can get to, some of them through your own admittance you can't because of the abundance of calls. But when you do go and you do cite an apartment or vehicle or whatnot, it's pretty much the extent of your enforcement. And then that moves on to a district justice office, and they may not think that codes have done their due diligence. But am I saying this correctly?
Correct, yeah. We send a notice, they have a time to respond. If they don't respond,
Goes to court.
it goes to citation, then goes to court.
Okay. So that was pretty much the bulk of the demo bundle money that which you use from the ARPA funds, but no longer ARPA funds. Now that you depleted that, moving forward, how are we going to pay for the demolition, of some of these properties?
Yeah, so Public Works, it comes from off of their budget, and I think they're given 500,000, and that's what has always been done in the past.
Okay.
So the actual budget line is in Public Works. Codes Office, they find the property, get it prepared for the demolition, and then it's all Public Works from there.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think that was that's all the questions that I have for you guys. Thank you, Vice President Green.
Thank you very much. Councilman Rodriguez, any questions?
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Thank you, Director Montgomery and the team for being here this evening. I don't really have too many questions, just more of a statement. Well, no, I guess I could phrase it as a question. Do you feel to be more effective, as Councilman Jones alluded to, you just need more bodies in the department, or you feel it's adequate the way it is, you just have to develop a more efficient system in the codes? I'll tell you why I asked this, because there's a constant call, and it's always related to codes. What can codes do? Who can you connect me with in codes? This is happening, that's happening. It's a codes issue. And I understand you guys are very busy, as every department is, but very rarely is it that easy to just call, get someone to come out, then action be taken. I mean, I've worked with you very well in the past, but from a resident standpoint, it's how they feel. And I mean, I could go down a deep pipeline and show you emails and text messages. It's just not as easy to get someone to come out to a grievance or a complaint. Do you feel that would be just like due to the lack of compliment, or you need to just kind of like uplift the compliment a bit?
Definitely need to uplift the compliment a little bit.
Okay, all right. I was just curious, because I'm not saying it's not a negative comment to the department. It's just I'm trying to get the residents a better answer when days go by and they're like, Councilman Rodriguez, no one's been out. Or Councilman Rodriguez, can we go down City Hall with you? You know, it's kind of hard to, because you run out of things to say. Not saying we blowing smoke, but it's kind of like we're waiting on the directors, and we don't have that, administrative power. So I just want to know how we can get the constituents a better service, or like a pipeline, streamline to you guys.
If they fill out the complaint form, there's a spot in there they can put their email, and we can email them, hey, we were here on this date, and this is what we did. But we can't just walk onto a property.
No, I understand.
We have to write
100%.
entry, so we may have been there and viewing it from the public right away, and they just haven't seen us.
Okay. It goes to the point where I know residents that have put in the complaint forms and
Right.
have come down, and
Yeah.
maybe they feel things weren't, addressed as it should be. What would be like the secondary plan? Maybe you did come out they're waiting a few weeks at a time, should they just reach back out? Should they come back down, fill out another complaint? What's your,
If they supplied their email and they haven't heard from us, just give us a call and say, could that officer email me what the status is?
awesome. And just for the record, on record, can you give out the number that residents should call if they have a codes-related specific issue or feel like their issue is codes-related?
The main number to the office, 717-255-6553.
Awesome. Thank you for that. No further questions.
Thank you very much. Councilwoman Rawls, any questions?
Oh, good evening. I had the same concerns as Councilman Rodriguez, so I don't have any other questions or concern. Thank you.
Thank you very much. President Hill?
Thank you. My question regarding the diversity complement was answered. I do have a question or follow-up questions regarding the 2 new positions that you mentioned, the Codes Enforcement Officer 1 and the Administrative Assistant 1. Do you have an anticipated quarter of 2026 that you would hope to hire these 2 individuals?
I'm hoping to hire in the first quarter a codes officer.
Okay.
And by the second quarter, the administrative aide.
Okay, and you're expecting either external or internal applicants?
For the codes officer position requires them to have a background in either building construction or inspection. So if there's nobody internal that has that, then we have to go external.
Okay.
And of course, it's always bidded internal first. So the possibility of administrative aid would first go to internal.
Okay. I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilwoman Davis, any questions?
Thank you, Vice President Green. No, my questions were answered, and you answered my question about how long all of the information, how long it's going to take for all the information to get converted to the Munis system, and you mentioned a few years because it's so much information.
Correct.
But thank you for being here, and thank you for your service and all that you do.
Thank you very much. Councilwoman Daniels, any questions?
Yeah, based on the current budget as proposed right now, what is your estimate or what is your projection for increased enforcement efforts into next year? I guess for 2026.
Could you rephrase the question? I'm not sure if you're asking for personnel or if you're asking financial-wise.
So your enforcement ability for 2026, and you could, I mean, it would be great if you have all of it, but you could either identify it in terms of number of citations or in terms of volume of revenue generated. But what do you estimate your enforcement efforts will look like in 2026 compared to 2025, given this budget that's proposed right now?
I would have to research the permit fees and all those items to out of the database for that answer. But as far as complement,
the permit fees and things we don't really have, right? That will depend on the economy. But in terms of like our ability to assess like penalties, fine, like compared to 2025, based on the budget you have now, that's being proposed now for 2026. What's your projection for like the number of citations compared to 2025? What's your projection for the volume of the citations for 2026 compared to 2025?
Councilwoman Daniels, the city cannot really do the equivalent of a projected quota for a coming year for violations. I mean, you're not supposed to project that people are breaking the law and then project that how many you're going to punish for doing it. The reality that people need to know about citations for codes is that we have somewhere in the vicinity of 15,000 of them pending in the court system right now. So projecting revenue from them is very, very difficult. Enforcement is very, very difficult. Service of out-of-state landlords is very, very expensive. And it makes it very challenging to have a stronger hand. Our view is we need to have a stronger set of laws to be able to do this. We have a lot of out-of-town people that manipulate this system in Pennsylvania, not just in Harrisburg, to avoid permits, to avoid compliance, to avoid identifying who they even really are, but to suck the money out of some of the poorest people that live here. But we cannot project how many violations there's going to be in a year. And if you
So,
look,
so does codes right now believe that is citing all of the citations that are possible in the city? Is codes maxed out? Like, has code identified all of the code violations in the city?
For everything that we self-generate or a complaint has been in is addressed, whether they was sent a notice and made compliant or whether it went to citation. If it had a court date, then it's been probably closed out. If it hasn't had a court date yet, it's still pending.
So I guess I'm being just like, I don't want the question to be too complicated, right? Like there must be some quantifiable way in which you can quantify your work that you expect to do in 2026 for 2025 compared to 2025, right? Because otherwise, I mean, we could all sit here and just say, well, it's so hard to enforce, like why even bother? And then maybe that's the argument for reducing the size of the codes department, right? But I expect that based on the budget that we're expecting to increase the work that we're doing in the city for 2026. So is there some number or some assessment you've used to compare your work in 2026 to 2025?
Well, it's based on a number of permits and a number of inspections required per permit, and then it's property maintenance complaints, and then we have property inspections, which we have, 11,000 units of rental properties that we got to inspect. So, yeah, the workload's there.
That's it for me. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Any other comments or questions? Councilman Jones?
Yeah, I just also wanted to commend you guys on Council Spoke. You guys listened, creating that welcome letter for new homeowners. That was a good thing that you guys did. And also the iPads, I would ask, how are they working out? I think that is something good, so they can have pull those codes up right on the spot and show residents or people that may be in violation, don't believe they're in violation, they can actually have that available. So can you give an update on that? And again, just recognizing that you guys did send out welcome letters to new homeowners in the city.
Yeah, the iPads, it provides the inspector with the ability to look up whether there are previous complaints at that address, if there's current permits or outdated permits or no permits, and it does have ability to the digital version of the property maintenance code.
That's it.
Thank you very much. I don't really have any questions that haven't already been asked and answered. Thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you for the work that you do. And if there's nothing else, I believe that's it for your portion, but I do believe we have the health department here. I hesitate to call it a department, because I don't think it's a department. The health office. We have the health office here.
Department, all of the above, I guess. I think my proposal's loaded. Oh, great, okay. Yes, I'm Nelva Wright, Health Officer. Thank you all for taking the time. I'm going to be as quick as possible, so if you have questions, that's more than okay. So the department overview, first slide, just basically talks about what the health office is doing. Primarily, the number one goal is to make sure people don't get sick. That our food establishments, our food providers, that they are educated and that they are, incurring best practices in their business. I've been doing this now almost 10 years, and it's really been a sea change from what the position started out to be and what it is today. A lot of things I've noticed, it used to be just go out and do inspections, but now it's more of a consultative type of position. You know, a lot of things have changed. Our economic situation in particular, I think we all are kind of aware that our food establishments in the city are having some troubles. You know, COVID started some things, and it's just been really difficult for some of our customers to be in compliance, to keep them in compliance, to educate their staff. All those things cost money, and people are really, really struggling with their food businesses to stay in compliance. So I find that as you look through these things, there's a lot of different hats that are being worn. Some of those hats are being put on because of economic stresses and because of the changes that our businesses here in the city are have to undergo. So again, promoting public health. One of the things that the code, our team didn't mention, is that, you know, I work with the lead-based paint notifications in the system to identify when our lead assessor from UPMC finds a home where a child is with a high lead level. That is then recorded by myself into our system for our code officers to follow up on. And I don't think you mentioned it, but 2 times this month we're actually having Code has sponsored lead certification for the team. So I'm certified, and I think the rest of the team will be so probably in the next 2 or 3 weeks, which is going to be a huge, on the 17th is the last class. And I think it's an amazing thing to do because it really does, again, breach into that whole health aspect that I've seen come out of this department, you know, over the years. So it's kind of been a hybrid of a lot of things. One of the other things that is being done that was encouraged as well, a lot of the updating of our technology. So if you see here, there's a lot of food safety databases. So the public can go on pafoodsafety.com, .gov, and foodsafety.gov, and look up inspections for various restaurants. Philadelphia is not in the system. I always get a lot of that, and I do not have access to Philadelphia. But you know, most of the municipalities throughout the state are in the system, and I've been working very, very hard to update our system and make it in sync with what's going on in the Department of Ag system, so that we can all have the same data and have it on a timely basis. It's been some gaps there, so. One of the things that I'm looking at is more technology. I was encouraged by the whole switch over to Munis. So what I'm doing with the health department or health office application and fee schedule, the whole packet is being revised as we speak. So it's going to be more user-friendly. It's going to, I've basically have been in concert with legal in regarding to increasing the rates for inspections, the license fees, the application fees, the fines and late fees. All of those things have been revamped, and basically, again, working with legal to make sure that they're in compliance, that they were, you know, reasonable as far as what we're asking about. So basically, what I did is I did a whole comparison of fees in Lancaster, York, Allentown, and Reading. What are they charging for their application fee? What are they charging for their inspection fee? What are they charging for re-inspections? What are their late fees like? And just going through that whole process, I kind of just took an average of what's being offered. And what I found out is that we are way behind, you know, as far as what we were charging, how we were charging things, how often we were charging, even fees that are non-existent right now. Are being charged in municipalities, and a nice, pretty piece of money too that we are missing out on. So I'm hoping that, you know, the revenue generation will increase with the new price structure, and again, it's being evaluated as we stand. But generally across the board, it's probably a 15 to 20% increase if you're going to kind of give a round number across the board. So we're looking to do that. Again, with the department, you can go, no significant budget changes. The diversity, if you look at the next one, it's me. And you see me, I'm pretty diverse, okay? But I am looking for another a food safety specialist. And the question is, how will that impact your ability to do a better job moving into 2026 as opposed to 2025? And for the reasons I mentioned, the position is changing, the demands are changing as far as some of the boards and some of the affiliations I have with our community partners. They want more visual. They want more interaction from our office in regards to just general overall wellness. So chronic diseases, I've always kind of dabbled in it, but they're like, okay, are you gonna help us out, or are you just gonna kind of be on the fringes? And looking at having an additional person, I think you all remember that I had grant funds that funded a part-time inspector last year, and I wasn't able to get that amount of funding this year. But the need definitely was established by having that individual in place. And that individual was a great backup for me to do some of the community stuff, all the festivals and all the extemporaneous little things that were going on that I wasn't able to do on my own. It's great to have that backup person. One of the things that's also going to be important for our agency is the fact that it's been in place now a while. So from a federal standpoint and from a compliance standpoint for where the city of Harrisburg's health office is along the federal standards and the national level. So I do get funding. If you look at the grants and special projects, I have been getting money over the past few years from FDA to work on various projects, and try to get something accomplished as far as what they call the national retail standards. And I've talked about the standards a couple of times, I'm sure you might remember, but basically that's the national guidelines. You say, this is what the nation is expected to do, these are the expectations, these are your goals, and so forth. And what are you doing to reach these goals? So there's 9 standards, and based on where a municipality may stand, whether or not they're achievable is, up to the level of staffing, up to the head count, up to the technology abilities, up to their, ability to fund certain things. At our level right now, Standard 7 is what they call industry and community relations. We've been met that standard pretty much for the last 3 or 4 years, 4 years. But now it's time for me to move on to try to achieve some other standards. They're like, okay, you got 1, there's 9. So what are you doing to move it forward? So we have targeted Standard 2, which is trained regulatory staff, and Standard 8, which is program resources. So some of the tools and equipment that I want to upgrade and improve upon for the office, and especially if I have someone new, they're going to need their equipment. I'll be able to train them on the newest, the greatest stuff that's out there. We do need new laptops and tablets and things to track. I have the same laptop that I've had for the last 3 years, so it's time to just upgrade the interface and the databases would, coincide with what the feds are doing. Doing the self-assessment, so again, that they gave me the 16.5 to do some of the things that are listed there. And that's pretty much that. I didn't have any ARPA money. The new position would be a full-time position for a food safety specialist. Now, this position, the designated time after working with HR and with Ann and looking at the dollars and cents, it looks like a position that we would be looking at funding starting in July of next year. So the funding would run from July to December of next year, and we'd be looking at $25,000 and then creating a $50,000 full-year position. So that would basically be a full-time person who would be doing the level 1, level 2, and also specialized inspections throughout the city. Now, my feeling with the rate of pay is very compatible with what the industry is putting at this time. So it would be a management level position, not a union, thank you, not a union position. So that would give us the flexibility. HR recommended that would be a more advisable position, because then I can use that person in other aspects. I can put them out on the street, or I can put them at a festival or whatever is going on outside of the normal 9 to 5 parameters. One of the things that's been very challenging is we're going to have to team up and do some things that will have to pull in, like the police, to do things like in the evenings and some of these off hours. And being a person by myself, I wasn't necessarily going to always go out late at night or whatever, but we need to kind of expand our horizons in that regard and maybe look at a different hourly schedule. Maybe not so much 9 to 5, but a little more, off hours. And having a position like that would allow us to do some things at some of the off times throughout the thing. So, all right, so that would be, again, that position would start in July. That would give me plenty of time to get someone. It's a very interesting position to fund. I had gotten funds for the position to do the part-time, but it's hard to find somebody saying a position is grant-funded or a position is part-time. Trying to pull people from the state or wherever, it's very, very difficult to do that with limited benefits and everything for the position. So the budget overall, that would be the only change that would be in the budget, and there's no other real requests. The budget money that I have at this point, the 16.5 grant money, is basically about halfway allocated. That money is, I have until the end of March 31st of 2026 to expend those funds. So I'm about halfway allocated on those funds. And they are talking about an extension, but that hasn't been finalized yet. So the departmental highlights, I'll just go through that. Again, trying to get, get to that guideline. The guideline is 280 inspections per FTE, and that's the, desired. It's 280 to 320 is the desired range, and people aren't hitting that. We are not alone in the struggle. It's just been, it's very hard to do when you have to include the complaints, and that's another thing I want to speak to. Complaints have really, really gone up, and I think what's happening is that with the economy as it is, some of our business owners, and not necessarily on their own fault, but they're doing things that are, my commercial code inspector and I have seen some things that have just been wrong. They are taking corner stores, and this comes all the way down from the application process, and this was one of the drivers as to why I wanted to revamp the application process, because starting from putting in the application in the mercantile office, going to zoning, coming through the codes, coming through to me, there's so much that's being missed in that process, and people are just putting in an application for a corner store, and by the time it gets down to the commercial code officer and myself, they've got a whole kitchen, they got a buffet going on. And they are not equipped necessarily to do that. And what happens is not only, it does bring in fast money, and it is a Band-Aid, so you can't necessarily blame people for trying to expand what they're doing and serve the public, because there is, there's a desire. People do like having that convenience, but they have to be able to have the skill set and the staff and all the things that go along with that kind of expansion. So when the code officer and I go in, we're seeing all the stuff that's happening, and it's just not even in the paperwork from the beginning. So when I'm looking at the new applications for health officers, I'm like, what type of building is this? Who owns it? What was it before? Was it a dry cleaner, and now you're going to serve cake? So what's happening? With some of the historical things and so forth, to try to mitigate some of the stress even on code. Because if we can catch some of these questions and have some of these questions asked up front, it helps me help them, and it helps me and code help me get them to the point where they're doing in their kitchens what they're able to do. And if they're not able to do it, it gives me an opportunity to say, okay, well, if you really want to do this, how do we make this possible? Not just jerry-rigging some kind of something coming up from the ceiling. What can we do to get this done right the first time, so that there's no fire risk or going through the process of getting cited by the team. So that's one of those things going on there. Just going through again some of the highlights. We talked about the inspections, trying to get updates to all the technology, food safety training for the Y and different organizations, the criteria, establishing new categories. We are looking at doing BYOB, doing a tattoo. There's no licensing and there's no real regulation for them. I'm using other states, so we need to have our own, and we need to be charging some fees for that kind of stuff. So there's a few, some major changes going on. continuing on with the newsletter, working towards the standards, and also I'm on the airport, so we'll talk, that's kind of separate from everything else. And I'm thinking that's about it, just the highlights of the goals, to try to get to that standard, to the range from the 240 to the 320, filling that position so that person can help our department be interface and do more of what we should be doing, and helps me be more of a consultant to stop some of this drama. Get all those new packets together. I've gotten a lot of very positive feedback about the new packets, and every time I get a new iteration, I send it out, I get some other suggestions of what can make it better. So we will be putting it in Spanish as well, and also I'll be working with IT to make sure that all the PDFs are fillable documents so that people can fill out the document online or on the website, and it'll be routed to myself. So it'll be routed to myself and to Ann, so that I can get the complaint that way, and then if it's an application, it will go through the Munis system automatically as well. So we'll kind of take control of where stuff is and be able to identify where the applications are and who's working on it. That's about it. Everything else is, next one's there, is pretty much self-explanatory. Complaints, I'm trying to get to the complaints. Generally, I get to them within a week, just to reach out to the person. There has been more serious complaints. It's for a very long time it's like, oh, it's dirty. But I've had a few people now who have said they have gotten ill and gone to doctors now. So I've seen a shift change in the severity of the calls and the urgency of the calls. So my goal is to get to them, at least have a conversation with whoever it is that called in and see what the deal is and how serious is it. If a code officer brings it to me, then we work on it together, and I get back to the code officer with an answer. And, we either do a joint call or we figure out what's going on with that, and they'll share that with me, and we'll kind of co-manage it together. The risk factor study, that's another, I got some funding to do. Part of that funding is for a risk factor study, and basically what a risk factor study is, it just looks at the databases that from the inspections that have been done. I can do a retroactive kind of look back and include some of the newer inspections as well, and find out what risky behaviors are the most prevalent within a particular period of time. So they can say, okay, so far I'm finding the hand washing, which is going to be hands down, the main culprit, at this point. For the analysis I've done so far, that seems like, it's going to be hand washing. But it's a very interesting thing. It's a nationwide project, and it's very involved. The Department of Ag, I think they're probably one of the only ones around the area who's actually completed a risk factor study. So it's a very involved process. It takes several years, and it takes a lot of headcount and a lot of money. So I'm looking at phase 1, and that's probably about as far as I'll get, to be honest. But it's a good thing to at least get a start on it and see what the community is actually looking like as far as food safety. And repeat violations is part of that as well with the risk factor. So once we find out who's got the dirty hands over and over and over again, then part of the risk factor study is to come up with a plan to get that person back in line. And that's all that I have. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I'm going to stick with consistency tonight and start to my far left with our Public Safety Chair with Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Vice President Green. I really don't have any questions, but I do have, I want to say, not a concern, because I understand with rising costs that we do have to bring in revenue. But there's an area that you were talking about where I know you did your comps in Lancaster, wherever surrounding places, which is good to see. Where I don't know what number you landed on for the fees, but again, we're in a revitalization period of our city, and we don't want to scare away potential business owners to come in. So I hope during the concert, we're not as big as the other places. I don't know if that's a component to how you decide what's going to cost what. But yeah, I'll just be very interested to see what the comps are and what we're looking to charge people coming in to start businesses. I think that's one of the things that can help our city as a whole, not just restaurants, but developers, business owners that can come into our city. I think we have to make it in a way attractable enough for them to come. I know for developers, they can use like LERTA, they can use like historical tax credits and things like that that can help them. But when we look at businesses, we don't want to run them off. That's all. So that's just a concern that I have in that area. The other thing is just you've always been on point with this, and I think people don't take enough interest in this area because there are a lot of things that's going on in our neighborhoods in some of these stores, and that and again extending those hours, because after 5 o'clock people could feel like it could turn into a poker room, whatever, and these things happen in our city. So hopefully getting that added position will help, and seeing how you will adjust with those hours, because I agree again. I've been in some corner stores and gas stations, and I'm thinking of calling you. Look at this horrible counter. I don't even want to drink coffee out of here. But yeah, those are just my concerns, and I just want to acknowledge that the work that you're doing is greatly valued, because we don't want to go into some of these eateries and come out of there sick. So I also appreciate you wanting to go to get extra training to make sure you can identify some of these things to keep us safe. So that's all I have. Thank you.
And just for public consumption, any increase in fees or any adoption of new ones comes to council first as a proposal, as an ordinance change. So you'd have a full ability to vet the work that Nelva has done very well. Her and Tirsa have been working on this for a while.
Right.
So that's a thing to come in the new year, where you'll get to sort of have that public discussion.
Good. I don't know what the numbers are. I would just like to see them, that's all.
Oh, no problem. And I do have a spreadsheet. I've been basically working with Tirsa and just kind of shared it with her. And I understand your concerns, because that was one of the first things that came up. It was like, whoa, we don't want to, make it too, prohibitive. The rates have not been raised since I've been here 10 years. So, I mean, in all fairness, it does cost to do business. And I don't think anyone, after 10 years, no increases anywhere. But it won't be something, hopefully, I will make sure that those numbers get out once Tirsa and I, tease them out, that they'll be, submitted to you, of course. And she's looking at all the ordinances and everything too, Neil, that would relate to that. She's been fabulous. So, yeah, so we don't want to scare people off, but we do want to be vigilant about what we're doing.
Absolutely.
Because if you put a kitchen in, I mean, that revenue from somebody changing it from a corner store and putting in that kitchen, with the hot food, that's a lot of income for them. I mean, it's expensive for them to do it. Of course, they'd have to, put in the equipment and all, but the return is not bad if they're doing it a certain way.
And you're right. It's the cost of doing business. I get it.
Yeah. So, but I hear you, and,
Yep.
and you'll all see those numbers and see and provide feedback. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilman Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Director Wright, it's always a pleasure seeing you. If the food is good, it'll be good revenue for them. The food has to be good. I've been to some places as we've had conversations. I'm like, I don't know what they're kind of doing. Do they got served safe? But I really have no questions for you. It's just, I wish we would have had that health department open up when we spoke about it years ago, but I definitely see the benefit. Was it Mr. Russo, I believe it was, that
Yes.
you were working with?
Anthony.
How did he turn out, just for my own edification?
Anthony's great. I mean, he's retired.
Yeah,
and he
yeah,
was
yeah.
retired when I hired him.
Because I remember
So-
he was going through like some surgery or some things going on.
Yeah,
But was he efficient? Did he help out a lot?
He's got a lot of experience. I mean, he came from the state, retired state Department of Ag worker. So that's the type of person I'm looking for,
Yes.
obviously.
For the July position
For the
coming
position.
in. Okay.
Someone with his expertise, it won't be anyone that strong. Because,
Right.
they're going to charge top dollar. But I
Absolutely.
think we can I've put some feelers on. I think we can get a decent person that can step in and hit the ground running.
Hopefully those top-notch candidates are the one we can,
I'd love
start
to.
attracting and
Yeah.
hiring within the city, because that should be the precedent for the city. They pay top-notch, they're pulling in the top-notch talent. It's a great city, so hopefully one day we'll get there, and I definitely see it, so
There's a
thank
level of
you.
there's a level of prestige
Absolutely.
working for the city of Harrisburg. People may not always think so, but someone coming up, through the ranks in this business saying, "Hey, I'm working for a major city," a younger person, whatever, older person just who wants that acknowledgement. It's not a small thing to say I'm a food safety specialist
Absolutely.
in Harrisburg.
Has to be taken
So,
serious with a lot of
yeah.
dignity, so thank you for all the work you do.
No, thank you.
Nothing further.
Thank you, Councilwoman Rawls.
Good evening. I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, President Hill.
Thank you. Thanks for clarifying. I wanted to know if, I wasn't clear if the part-time inspector was going to be grant funded or if this was something clearly in our budget. So thanks for noting the July through
December, and then it would be reevaluated for full-time,
Okay,
and regular position.
employment, okay,
Am I correct on that? Yes. Okay, I wanted to make sure
okay.
that I got that right.
I also wanted to review the number of inspections to date. From the quarterly reports, approximately 83 annual and general inspections have occurred to date. Approximately 21 new business inspections have occurred. Is that accurate?
It sounds like a little, was that pulled from the database?
The quarterly reports.
Okay, yeah, this sounds about right.
Okay, I was just
Might
trying
be-
to gain an idea with the goal of 240 to see if that was consistent, I guess. Thanks also for sharing the process before everything gets to you, because I wasn't aware. I know you and I spoke regarding 2 new restaurants that opened. People contacted me regarding, and they were waiting on the inspection, but you noted that it goes through planning prior to coming to you. Is that correct?
They put in the application in mercantile, then zoning, then code, then myself, yes.
Okay. Thanks for reviewing that, because I didn't know. I thought everyone, again, like Councilman Rodriguez said, was pointing me to you. So I'm glad to know that, for the public's benefit, to know that there's a cycle and there's time and it goes through several different bureaus and departments within the city. I don't think I have any other questions for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilwoman, Davis.
Thank you, Vice President Green. Good evening. I don't really have any questions. You pretty much explained, overall the department and everything you do. Can you hear me? All right, all right.
I could hear it.
Okay, so you mentioned the hand washing is one of the main problems that you run into. What is the process after you find these violations with the different restaurants or the people in the restaurants? And is there anything that could be done? And I would probably lean towards probably not, like, just, that's, hand washing is the number one way prevent disease and infections. And when we're talking about food, I'm just concerned.
Well, and you're absolutely right. It's a very valid concern, because you would think it would be like 101, right? And it's interesting when I think about the risk factor study. So when I do the report, it has different issues with the hand washing. Are they using the water? Is it water hot enough? Are they using soap? Are they using a towel, a single, service towel? It's so many little nuances to it. And the risk factor study actually breaks those down, so it's really in depth when you talk about hand washing. How many seconds were they? So in a general inspection, was not necessarily analyzing it to that level. I'm like, You don't have towels. I mean, it's been that, you don't have soap. I mean, it's been that basic. But I think looking deeper into it and actually looking at the risk factors, they're going to have me looking at those kinds of things. Like, did they wash around the thumbs? You know, what was the technique? That kind of stuff. And, you know, what was the temperature of the water? You know, did they have the towels? Did they use it to turn off the, I mean, it gets real into the minutia of hand washing. So probably the enforcement is going to be a little different. And I'll have to think about how that's going to look, because right now I'm just like, there's so much basic stuff. I'm like, you don't even have soap. So I can't even get to the point where it's like, what is your technique? Because you got to get some soap first, you know? So it's going to be really interesting to, you know, to see how I'm going to enforce that moving forward. Because right now I make a notation of it. I give out signs and I note it and they get the report. But taking it to another level for a risk factor, I'm supposed to have a specific response for each specific thing. So that's going to be interesting. I'm still working through how much extra I'm going to have to put into the document. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, and it's important because we're buying food and we're eating it, and we don't want to, you know, we don't want any germs or
Number
anything.
one.
And I understand, being a nurse, how the hand washing technique is so, and most people don't understand, but I appreciate all you're doing, and if you need any assistance at any
You're a
time,
nurse? Absolutely.
of
We
course,
don't talk, 'cause
I'll
you might
be
help
more
me
than help
figure
you.
out how I'm
Okay.
gonna, what I'm going to say. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you. Councilwoman Daniels, any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments? I don't have any questions or comments for you. Thank you for the work you
Thank you,
do.
Vice
I really do appreciate the newsletters. They have definitely been informative. I pass them out all the time and share them with other people. So thank you for doing that, and please keep it up.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't have anything else. If anyone doesn't have anything for the Codes Bureau, thank you very much for your presentation and for being here tonight and for all you do for the city.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for the time.
I think that just about wraps up our committee business. I'm going to pass it over.
One more question.
I'm not going to pass it over because Councilman Jones just wants to talk. I'm going to pass it over to President Hill as we move on to public comments.
Thank you, Vice President Green. Just a few housekeeping notes before we open the floor for public comment. Please state your name and your address for the meeting record. If you don't feel comfortable sharing your address, please share the vicinity in which you live within the city. You will have 4 minutes to share your comments. Mr. Truesdale has added a timer to the screen for your reference. And I'd like to begin to my right. Is there anyone that would like to offer public comment?
Gerard, 1521 North 2nd Street. First, thank you guys for all your work. I know developing a city budget is not easy. I just got a couple little notes that I've made. Number one, under the police, the apparel budget, I was wondering if there'd be any way to take a look at the community service aides uniform. Because I've had a lot of friends, like I see them at, well, I've worked with Lamont, we worked with them at the graffiti removal. They're good team, they do good work. But I've had a lot of friends say they look very militarized. And, you know, I get it, they gotta have their protective gear, but maybe it's the wrong color. Maybe when I look at, I think they're like Iraq soldiers or something, you know what I mean? But, and I'm sure this is not a cheap thing, right? It's probably a $25,000 redo, I get it, but that would be my only comment on that. Next on the fire, I really came down to make sure you guys were gonna be funding the new fire trucks or whatever. It sounds like the fire trucks are all in there, so I don't think I have to redo that. And then on codes, I was coming to advocate about, I know we're all struggling with codes and, you know, some of the vacant buildings downtown, and you look at that and say, why is that building either not for sale or fixed up? And one of the things I attend the Capital Area Neighbors meetings sometimes. There's a couple buildings where, you know, it's been vacant, they got codes problems, they get in trouble per se, and then they come and they get a demolition permit. And now that demolition permit's good for 6 months, and yet, oh, the guy's still getting 3 bids, and then it just delays on. And I really think that part of the answer, Solicitor Grover, is really to get more lawyers on the back end of this. You know what I'm saying? I don't think the codes is the problem, but I think it's staying right on when that 6-month demo permit is out of the way, that we get more lawyers in your department if possible.
I can't state this with certainty, but you are probably the first person at a public microphone that ever advocated for more lawyers anywhere in America.
Amen.
So-
Well, there you go. Maybe we finally come to the solution. We need more lawyers in the world. Right. Well, then well, great. I'm glad about a hit. Then the other thing is I want to follow up about the questions about the inspections and codes. So, I'm a small landlord. I have a 5-unit building and a 3-unit building. So I participate in the city's landlord inspection program. And don't quote me, maybe Neil, you could say, but I believe that only goes for buildings that have like 4 units or more. You know what I'm saying? So like you can go buy one of these vacant tax property buildings for 25 grand, go get your landlord license for $25, but no one's coming in really from the city. You see what I mean? And I think that's what's happening and I know this is very politically sensitive to all the landlords of the world, but I think there's a lot of these small single bedroom or 1-bedroom houses that are turned into illegal rooming houses. They start renting them out. And so the ordinance, I think that's the ordinance we got to look at. How you enforce it, I don't know. But I think that the landlord inspectors, and I know they said they have 11,000 buildings, and I know, just so you know, Lamont, they did jack up last year to 2 guys per zone. They used to only have 1, I believe. But even so, if you take 11,000 and divide it by every 5 years, getting in all those, they're still way understaffed. And so I don't know if we can solve this problem overnight, but that's, I think, maybe the housing committee can look at that inspection ordinance. I think that's where the secret sauce is. That's just my comments. So thank you very much. Good job, everybody.
Is there anyone else to my no one? Anyone to my left? Okay. Seeing and hearing no one. The time is 8:57 p.m. But before
Yes, we will have our second budget hearing tomorrow.
thank you. The time is 8:57 p.m. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
No move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. We stand adjourned.
Okay, did we get Ed's